What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Jeremy coming to you with another live stream, and today I'm bringing back Cameron Pasha, Hollywood producer. He made a big splash here on Geeks and Gamers when we did our almost hour-long video, and went over really well. I clipped out the part where you were talking about The Last Jedi, and that did really well. And everyone wanted me to bring you back on, and I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of questions. So how are you, first of all? How are you doing right now?
I'm doing great. You know, it's a beautiful day out in Santa Monica today, and I'm excited to talk to your to your viewers. You know, I think last time we had a really interesting session. I shared a lot of my opinions, and I saw a lot of interesting comments as well as the chats. And so, you know, hopefully the world has changed a lot in the last 3 weeks that we've talked.
It really has. It really has. Things are getting so crazy, you know. I mean, you just look at where we were at the beginning of the year, and then a few months into it, it started getting, and then it got even a little weirder with the pandemic, and then now all this other stuff's happening, and it's just like, my gosh, man, the world has completely changed, and I don't know how much more it's going to change next week. At this time, we could be talking about how much has changed next week.
So I'm going to do something I don't think anyone has on any of your interviews ever done. I'm going to give you an astrological perspective. If you're open to that.
Here we go. Let's do it. Let's do it.
So I study all kinds of interesting things. I study mysticism. I study religions. I study astrology, right? And so I knew something major was happening. It was going to happen in 2020, a couple of years ago, because the biggest thing astrologically is the planet Pluto, which has a 250-year cycle, is cycling back to the exact position it was in during the French Revolution and the American Revolution. We're going right back to it. So I said, you know, we're going to be in the position just before the American Revolution in 2020, right? It's an exact same point. And so it's a planet of destruction and transformation. And so there's a lot of interesting stuff happening on a cosmic level if you choose to believe that.
So we have some astrology for the first time ever on a Geeks and Gamers live stream. See, this is what you tune in for, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you
never know
tune in for.
Me, yeah.
So yeah, now there's a lot to talk about, to follow up on. You know, I did, and I rarely have done premieres here on this channel, and how a premiere upload does is it's a live upload, and a lot of people thought that it was an actual live stream, and so a lot of people like, oh, you got to bring him on for an actual live stream, and you know, you guys talk about everything, and you know, obviously the big thing that you know, this community follows is Star Wars and everything like that, and you know, your experiences with Lucasfilm and Disney over the years, and your, you know, give a recap to everybody, maybe for the people that didn't see the interview, maybe give them a recap about how you felt about, say, The Force Awakens and then The Last Jedi, how that all kind of came together for you.
Well, look, I talked very at length, so I won't do it at length, but you know, I've been a passionate Star Wars fan since I was a little kid. It got me through a really difficult childhood. You know, I mentioned how I used to create entire movies, sort of fan fiction movies in my head with my action figures. And in many ways, that's why I've become a filmmaker. I mean, that's how I learned to do it. And, you know, so it's very emotionally important for me. And I really enjoyed the prequels. You know, I had some issues with episode 1, but over time, I've actually come to have a lot of affection for it. And so I was so excited when these new movies were going to come out. And then when The Force Awakens came out, I was so excited to come in, and I enjoyed it. And yet it's the first Star Wars movie that I did not go see a second time in the theater. It's the first one. And I walked out of it feeling, wow, for me, I didn't feel like I got anything new out of it. I felt like there was all this interesting setup that I would have liked to see more explored in that episode. And I thought the characters were a little hollow, and the storyline was recycled. So, but I was like, but you know, let's give it a chance. And then Last Jedi, I was so excited because I was actually a big fan of Looper. And to this day, I still think it's a really good film, and I admire what Rian Johnson did with Looper. And so I was so excited with that. And then I watched that movie, and I was just stunned. I mean, my mouth fell open in the theater, and I felt my heart sinking as the movie continued, right? And by the end of it, I walked out of there just silent. I had gone to see it with a friend. He was like all revved up about it. I was like, yeah, it was a movie. It was a movie. I need to think about it, right? I came home, and I couldn't sleep that night. And I went and saw it a second time, and I still didn't like it, right? And in fact, then I started looking out on the internet for people. I thought, am I crazy? And then I started finding people on Twitter saying, man, I don't know, man. I didn't like it. And that led me to finding you, and led me to finding what was not yet even then the Fandom Menace. And I started following those people that would eventually become the Fandom Menace. And I started becoming outspoken because I felt personally hurt by the film. I felt like it had attacked an archetype that had gotten me through my childhood. And having worked in Hollywood, I knew where it was coming from. It was coming from this ugly, subversive agenda that I've argued in writers' room with my colleagues about. There is this agenda that I have seen get worse over the 19 years that I've worked as a screenwriter, where, especially as a younger generation is coming in, that I think has been influenced by how the current universities are training kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ideologies. And I was like, man, why are you guys trying to turn storytelling into making a political point before the storytelling, right? And I would have these arguments in writers' rooms, and people would be more and more like, we have to say something. Our job as filmmakers is to say something that's going to change society. I was like, man, society's going to do what it's going to do. Your job is to tell a story, and an authentic story, right? And you can't control how society's going to perceive that, right? And so then for me, The Last Jedi was the culmination of that weirdo, subversive, and frankly Marxian political agenda that's developed in Hollywood during the time that I've been there.
Yep.
So I started speaking out against it, and that's not a smart thing to do. A lot of my friends are like, hey man, you might want to shut up. You know, Kathleen Kennedy might see one of your tweets, and you're not going to get a job with her. And for a little bit, I started deleting some of my tweets, and finally I said, you know what? At this point, people in Hollywood know what I am. They know I'm Muslim. They know I'm conservative on a lot of issues. And a lot of people have said, yeah, we're not going to work with that guy. So who I am is set in stone. So I'm just going to start talking about it because my adversaries already know who I am. And that's why we're here now.
Well, see, and that's what there needs to be more of in Hollywood, is people that are just willing to say, like, I'm just going to be honest, you know, and I know it's not easy. I'm not sitting here saying it's easy. I mean, this is people's livelihoods, and it could be the difference in you having a multi-million-dollar gig versus not having it, you know.
I've lost gigs. I mean, not specifically for Star Wars, and not that I know of. Actually, I'll talk about one Star Wars gig that I did lose, but for other reasons. But I've had people tell me that, hey, you know, you were a great candidate for that job, but the showrunner didn't want you because, you know, he doesn't like your politics, or he's uncomfortable with your religious beliefs. In Hollywood, for all of its liberalism, people will actually say it. They'll say, you know, for all of its, you know, Title VII discrimination stuff, they're like, yeah, man, you're not the right fit for the room because you don't. I mean, that's the phrase. You're not the right fit means that you're going to be a troublemaker in the room because you're going to disagree or you're going to raise points we don't want to address. And I've had people say you didn't get the job because you're not the right fit, and and people tell me privately you're not a right fit because of your religion and your politics. I've had people say it directly,
but it's not surprising at all. It's not surprising. Okay, so Yona Hall, Pluto is just salty. Neil deGrasse Tyson said it's not a real planet.
Well, I don't want to hijack an astrology thread. One of the things you'll notice, along with Star Wars, on my Twitter feed, I'm very passionate about Pluto, and I've done a lot of screeds about how Pluto is a planet. And if you look at how this has been reclassified, it's coming from the same subversive agenda. A group of academics in Europe decided to create these new categories that would exclude Pluto, but even the categories didn't make sense because one of the things they said, well, Pluto can't be a planet because it hasn't cleared its orbit of asteroids. I'm like, hey man, we got asteroids flying by Earth. We had one last week. Mars is next to the asteroid field. It don't make no sense, right? And so, you know, I'm very passionate about it, but that's an example of this new generation of people that are subverting things and using hypocritical ideologies to even science. And we're seeing that right now, honestly, with the virus and a lot of the arguments around it. Science is being subverted. That's the end result of when you put ideology first over everything else. And we're seeing the result of it right now in civilization.
Yep, correct. Now, according to Christy, sends a super sticker. Thank you, according to Christy. I see we have some of the mods here. I see Ryan. I see Krista. Thank you to everybody joining. Smash the melee button. I am joined by Cameron Pasha.
And I
Cameron,
feel like I'm the Beatles. I mean, all these people that I follow are like in the chat.
Yeah.
I'm going to the Beatles for a gig on the stage. It's great.
And I'm sure they would all love to have you on in the future, you know, especially now, you know, I'm sure, you know, once they see you on a live stream and see how accessible you are, I'm sure you're going to make the rounds with a lot of people that, you know, are familiar with this channel. Culture Casino with a $1.49 super sticker with a unicorn. Thank you, Culture Casino. I've seen you've been making the rounds on YouTube lately, Culture Casino. So good job with that. I saw you your own comics division's channel last night. Flow Friction says, how do we stop the Marxist takeover of storytelling? Hollywood seems hopelessly gone.
I don't think it can be stopped. It is the culture of the industry. I mean, it's a fraudulent culture. I actually just had this argument yesterday. I'm on a Discord thread with a lot of screenwriters, right? And yesterday, someone who I respect, who's a friend of mine, posted about how there's now this movement with some screenwriters are calling for the state laws to be changed so that most people in Hollywood work through corporations, right? They set up a corporation for tax purposes. I work through a corporation. Like when you make a deal with me to write something, you make a deal with my corporation, you pay my corporation for my services, and then it pays me. And under the corporate laws, tax laws, I end up having decent, tax rate. Under the current, if I was just individual tax, I'd probably be paying close 50 or even 55% tax based on my income, right? With using a corporation, it gets down to a more manageable 20 to 30%, which I think is range of most people, right? That's not crazy, but someone said we got to eliminate that because we have to support giving more taxes because we're rich people. And the people on the stream were like, yeah, I support that, but I'm not gonna do it myself, right? It's like, yeah, I support that in theory, but I don't know that I want the tax rate to change for me. And I finally said, guys, come on, this is all hypocrisy. Why are we even pretending we believe this is a good idea? None of you want higher taxes. You're rich people.
Exactly.
You're not paying 55% taxes. You set it up that you're paying 25%. The smartest ones are paying 15%. So you set it up that way. And so why are you keep pretending that that's not what you believe? And so I got a big argument over that. But that to go back to the super chat, this fraudulent, Marxism that is Marxism of the tongue, that is in Hollywood is part of the culture. Everyone is afraid to speak out against it. So everyone does the echo chamber because they're all afraid of being canceled internally and not having a career. At this point, whatever career I got, man. Everyone knows what I'm about. So, and then after I sent that message on the board, I got private email messages from very famous screenwriters saying, "I'm glad you said it, man. I don't have the balls to say it there." That we're all being hypocrites on taxes. We're being hypocrites. I can't say it though.
And I can speak to that on a smaller scale, but since the channel has kind of gotten so much traction in recent years, I've heard from YouTubers that I would have never imagined that I would have heard from. That I was like, I didn't know you guys knew my name, and they're like, "Love what you say. Please don't mention me publicly, but I love what you say." I'm like, wow. I was like, no, I'll never mention anything, So for anybody speculating, I've never uttered these people's names on a live stream, so you'll never know them. I won't even make a hint that I'm familiar with them because I respect when people reach out to me and ask for my trust. So I never want to break that in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, that's it's true, man. We're heading in a strange place. Now, I want to go ahead now. Be clear. You requested that we have this topic, all right? Not me, because I am in the center of a firestorm with this Dave Filoni thing. So you requested that we have this. You wanted to say, hey, can we talk about this? Because I'd like to give my take. And yeah, absolutely. So to give a little, perspective for everybody. So Dave Filoni, had some comments that were brought to light a few days ago that he made back in 2016, I believe, at a Women's International Conference, and a lot of people took issue with those comments. And these comments are not alone. There's a lot of other issues that have happened with Dave Filoni, and a lot of people don't like certain directions or certain takes from him. A lot of the EU fans don't like him because of the liberties he took with the storytelling and not respecting the EU. And I appreciate all of those perspectives. My take on it is Dave Filoni is our last hope as far as I'm concerned with Star Wars, and I loved what he did with the Clone Wars in terms of the final season 7 arc. I loved it. And if that is the type of Star Wars that I can get in the future, then I'm happy with that. There are problems with it. He's not perfect. But much like Luke with Vader, I still see good in him. And so that's my stance on it. And I didn't like going back 4 years. So other people were fine with it, and I'm fine with that. Now, you can give your take on this whole Filoni situation.
Well, the prelude to the take is I've met Dave Filoni, right? I've met him professionally. I interviewed for and nearly got, but didn't get, the job as head writer of Clone Wars when the show was starting. As you can imagine, that would have been a life-changing event because, wow. I went through the interview process. I got a call from agents, hey, people at Lucasfilm want to talk to you. I was like, people at Lucasfilm are sure. And then I discovered there's a show called Clone Wars they want to do. And I was like, well, that sounds really good. And so I went through the interview process, and the final stage of the process was meeting Dave Filoni, right? And one of the producers of the Star Wars films. And he was in the room with me. And ultimately I didn't get the job. I ended up working instead for Tron, for Disney. And I've talked about my experiences there in the last.
Yeah.
So I met him. I respect him professionally. I respect him as a fellow artist. I think he's done a lot of good work here. And now, with all that said, I understand the critiques that people have said about the video. A lot of people that I respect within this community, people like OG Star Wars, people like Steven, the great artist, people like Doomcock, people that I've interacted with and I have a lot of respect, had some passionate critiques. And then some of them had passionate critiques about you and how your reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into personal drama. I'm going to share my perspective, right? Because I like everybody in this debate. My perspective is from a Hollywood insider is this. What did anyone expect him to say? I mean, Dave Filoni is being sent by Lucasfilm to a women's conference 4 years ago, long before the fandom menace had coalesced into anything, long before our critiques of what Star Wars was going had actually coalesced into some kind of passionate vision that a lot of people grasped. At the time, the official words were, anyone who's critiquing, Rey as a character is just critiquing her as a woman. That was the official word, and there was no contradictory narrative out there at the time. And he's being sent professionally to represent Lucasfilm at a women's conference. And so anyone who thinks he's going to get up there and say, look, I think you're all misreading this, look, Leia was the number one female in Star Wars, right? Look what I'm doing. I created Ahsoka Tano, right? There's never been sexism in Star Wars, and you need to relax. Is he going to do that at that conference? I mean, is he going to do that? Is he going to have a job after that if he says that?
And I agree. But I will say, and that's because I've had so many discussions about my original argument that I had with Az, and I do I made some strong critiques of Dave Filoni's speech in my response video where I talked about, I told him to F off at one point when I was reacting to it. So there was some condescending language in there that wasn't necessary, but the pandering, yeah, I agree. He's going to pander, to the crowd that he's talking to.
His job is on the line.
But he could have done it. But in respect to the counter argument for a lot of it, he could have done it without the condescending tone that he made. A couple of condescending tone critiques of the fans in a subtle way that probably wouldn't mean as much if the fandom hadn't been assaulted so much in recent years. I'm saying this that I understand people's perspective. It's that I still just don't agree with, it's 4 years ago, and my stance on it is, he just gave us amazing Clone Wars that I loved. And, if it would have been new, if this would have happened like yesterday, if Filoni goes to this conference and said that same exact thing, then I would have been like, okay, that's a little different now. This is a post TLJ world he said it in then. So, yeah, but go ahead. Continue.
Look, it's the post whole journey, right? It's the post unmasking of Kathleen Kennedy's agenda it's the post all of it, right? And with regard to the snide comments, I mean, that's how people in Hollywood, when they're in a bubble, talk, right? And that's why I usually, when I'm in that bubble, I keep my mouth shut, because everyone just repeats the same old stuff. I mean, I got these snide comments about socialism and how we all need to be socialists from famous screenwriters yesterday, right? And yesterday, right? And I'm like, but you're all rich dudes who ain't, you're not socialists, but you're just saying it, and it's a bubble, right? And you got to all stay in the bubble. And so I just kept my mouth shut, right? Well, I didn't keep my mouth shut then, but I mean, this is a virtue signaling crowd. Hollywood is. I don't blame Dave Filoni for taking that tone. Everyone is expected to talk in this way. If I were to simply say, you know me, I've got issues with Trump, I'll say something good that Trump did, right? And I've got issues with him, right? One thing, and if I said this,
let me say real quick. Let me say hello to Jedi Bunny Kelly. Hi, Kelly. She's had a rough few months with some stuff going on. So hi, Kelly. Good to see you. Everyone, let's get some bunny emojis for Kelly. Good to see her in the chat. Sorry to interrupt you, Cameron. It's great to see Kelly here.
Blessings to you, Jedi Bunny. I hope things work out.
She's the best.
So, I mean, look, if I were in a writer's room, and I've actually said things and I've gotten people very agitated when I've said things, I was like, well, let's look at Obama. I'm born in Pakistan. I got relatives over there, right? And Obama did 6 times more drone killings in Pakistan than George Bush did. George Bush did 50 drone attacks over the course of 8 years. Obama did 371. Right? He killed thousands of his, and we're talking about droning a village, right? We're talking about droning a funeral. Lots of little kids dead, right? You can go to Wikipedia and see how many kids have been killed in those drone attacks. Trump has done 5 drone attacks. He just stopped them, right? So, people in Pakistan are like, hey, man, at least he's not killed us, right? That's great. Hillary comes back, Biden comes in. People are like, Biden gets elected, he's going to be bombing the crap out of Pakistan again. So, if I said something like that in a writer's room, it makes people really agitated. Because they get it, they understand the logic of what I'm saying, but someone has actually said the emperor has no clothes. And there's a pall of silence happens when you say something like that. And they immediately switch to another conversation because everyone has to keep the tone going. Everyone has to keep the bubble going because they're all afraid of the guillotine coming for them. So Dave Filoni is going to go along with the vibe of the room. He may very well believe everything he said. But even if he didn't, he's got to say the things that he said, in my opinion. And the people here are upset by them, have every right to be upset by those opinions. But I think they should understand that what else was he going to do? If he was me, he wouldn't be working at Star Wars. I'm not working at Star Wars. I got a big mouth.
And that's what I said. I said that in my video. I was like, I wish they would invite me to a woman's conference so I can get up there and talk about the pay inequality. I'm like, ladies, there's a pay inequality that we need to discuss. And they're going to be like, yes. And I'm like, the adult film industry, men do not get paid as much as women, and we need to fix that. And they're going to be like, what the fuck? What is he talking about? I would love to troll him.
That is natural, but they're also having a good time. But that's a whole other conversation. Another live stream. They're complicated other ways.
Oh man, so good. But yeah, so the point is that it's a very hot topic, this whole Filoni thing, and everyone has their perspective and their side of things. And look, I'm one of my top people at Geeks and Gamers is Ryan Kennel. Ryan Kennel has been waving the I hate Dave Filoni flag for a long time. He knows more. He's probably forgotten more about Star Wars than I know. That's how much Ryan knows about Star Wars. And so
and OG Star Wars has done the same on her thing. She is the master of understanding the EU, and she has a lot of critiques of the choices he made that separated from the EU.
Right. And so so everybody everybody's got a certain point of view on this, and time will tell what happens. Ultimately, I view Dave Filoni as our last hope for Star Wars. Not that I think much.
I think they're both. Yeah. Both the reason those guys are there and I'm not there is that, and especially Favreau. Thank you, Ryan. Well, especially Favreau, is that he is very much a team player who achieves his objectives. He knows how to work a corporate system. He knows how to not ruffle feathers. He achieves his long-term agenda. He's not just a brilliant filmmaker, which he is. He's also a brilliant corporate politician, and God bless him, because somebody like me with a big mouth is not going to achieve those objectives, because I won't be into the door. He knows how to do it.
Right. And and I'm gonna get the super chats real quick. Mexican Iron Man, interviews like this is why I'm proud to smash the like button. Happy to see Geeks and Gamers, an honor to pay a channel member. Thank you, Mr. Pasha and Jeremy, for your insights. Can I get Pasha 1 to 2 times a month? Hey, if he's got the time, I would love to bring him on a couple times a month.
I'd love to. You know what? I need to be working on a major movie or TV show right now, and then I don't need to talk to you for 2 months. I got a lot of time on my hands right under this lockdown.
But yeah, it's good stuff. And by the way, since we got 820 people here, everyone go to geeksandgamers.com. The new website has launched. You can create a profile. You will have a personal blog on that profile. You can join the forums. And for $10 a month, you can become a premium member, and that will help the site so much. That is the future of Geeks and Gamers. So please go over there. Everyone seems to be enjoying it. Our webmasters have been working really hard. A lot of time, effort, and money has gone into this project, and I'm very proud of my team. And I'm happy to see so much activity over there on the forum. So geeksandgamers.com, sign up for that premium membership, and I'll see you in the forum as soon as we're done live streaming. But I'm happy everybody's enjoying it. Okay, so Synaptic Flow says jealous. Let's see. Jealous Kathleen Kennedy is rumored to have said she will burn it all down if she doesn't have it her way. I think she's now doing that on purpose. Thoughts? So the rumor about Kathleen Kennedy saying she will burn it all down if she doesn't have her way. And I think she's now doing that on purpose. Thoughts? So what do you think about that rumor?
I think that's right. I mean, human
I
nature.
love how point blank you are. You don't even dance around it. You're like, I think that's right. I love it. Go ahead.
I should say, I met Miss Kennedy once early in my career with Frank Marshall. Private, small meeting, and I'm sure she has no memory of it. But I met them both. They were very nice. I liked her as a person. Right? She's obviously successful. All that said, right? So I don't like the choices she's made in this particular role in Star Wars. I think it's damaged something that I care about. So, based on knowing Hollywood politics, that's normal. I mean, this is a really petty place, man. And if you rise to the top and then someone tries to go for the throne and actually manages to dislodge you, I mean, you burn the house down. That's human nature. This is like the Mongols, man. This is like Genghis Khan versus another tribal dude. That's how Hollywood works. I'm like, that's I've seen that kind of vengeance in my career where someone's trying to dethrone somebody on a TV show, and if you're gonna aim for the king, you better not miss. And then I've seen them miss, and it ends real bad. So.
That's beautiful. I love it. I love it because most people in any industry, when you're faced with a question like that, you're gonna be like, "Well," and you're like, "Yeah, I think that's true." Like, yes, this is why Cameron is gonna be on Geeks and Gamers more often. I love it.
Well,
I love somebody that doesn't hold back.
Truth. The good thing is that I find good people as a result of speaking the truth. Right? I miss out on opportunities with the Machiavellian types and the fake types, which is the majority of people. So I've lost opportunities because of that. But these aren't people that I can sustain a relationship with, and they're people that you can't trust. And so I'd rather work with a more select group of people that I can be honest with.
That's awesome, man. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I saw someone say, can you still buy Geeks and Gamer shirts? We have an all-new merch shop on the site. You'll see it there on the top tab. It's Teespring, and we've got a ton of designs, and we're going to have a lot more coming your way. So, yeah, hop on over to geeksandgamers.com. And Ryan says, Jeremy makes me hold back. He censors me. Go to the fucking website, Ryan. I'm not going to censor you on the website. I have to censor you on YouTube and Twitch. I have to censor you on those platforms. Twitch more so than YouTube. There's been a couple times I had to message Ryan. Although Ryan, there was one time I said something on a Sports War stream, and even you were like, oh, shit. He shouldn't have said that. So I spoke out a little too much on a topic. And I even saw it in Ryan's face. He's like, oops, did he just say that? I'm like, oops, I did. Yeah, so good stuff. US Dutch Kitty with a $5 super sticker says, good job. Thank you so much, US Dutch Kitty. Nikki D jumped on me. Nikki D, what are your thoughts on the new diversity eligibility requirements for the Oscars?
Okay. Well, something I said on the former chat is, the former video that we did a few weeks back is that I consider myself a follower of Malcolm X, and most people today don't actually know what that means. A lot of people use his name or speak out against him, not knowing what he means. And he was actually a very, very conservative black man, and his perspectives on social politics, government policies were very conservative. He was against what we would call affirmative action today. He was against any kind of quota system, because he said that's degrading and demeaning to black people, and by extension to anyone who's not in power, right? What it does is that you are, from your noblesse oblige, you are offering to say, I don't think that you're at my level, but I'm going to pretend that you are, and I'm going to give you this slot, but I'm not going to give you any authority or power within that slot or voice. I have seen that directly on multiple TV shows that I've worked on. Most TV shows have the diversity slot writer, which is the studio. See some little boy says, I found Malcolm's too. Great. The studio will pay for a writer that is a minority, usually African American, because again, within that there's they're very selective of who they consider a minority inside their own racism, right? And so then the show doesn't come out of the show's budget. So the showrunner's like, great. You can have somebody in there, but then the showrunner now has somebody that they didn't really hire that was presented to them as, you're going to have this person on staff, and this person is a diversity hire. And so their psychology is, well, this person isn't good enough to have been hired by me, and I'm just going to make them sit over there, take notes, be quiet, give them a script, not really read the script and rewrite it from scratch. And then when their period that the studio is paying for them, the 6 months or whatever it is over, I'm not going to, because then you have the option to renew them and put them on staff, and then it's come out of your budget, right? And then inevitably I've seen those people are let go, and another freebie minority is brought in to go through the same degrading process, right? And I've never seen one of those diversity writers in 19 years. I've never seen one of those diversity writers advance to producer level. I just see them going from show to show and then disappearing out of the system.
Yep. Yep.
And so to bring it back to the issue of Academy Awards, I think, all the efforts that they've been doing in recent days, it's all just this PR that they do to try to look woke, right? And so their efforts of, we're going to bring in more minorities into the academy itself, we're going to open it up. These are all just people who are going to do all of this from the same PR of, look, here's the minority that gets the awards, the participation trophy. It's degrading, it's insulting. And on the other side of it, it is, I'm not one of these people that says that it's a straight playing field. It is not a straight playing field. I speak from personal experience. If you are not within the Hollywood club, and race and religion is part of that club, but if you're not within the Hollywood club, it doesn't matter how good you are. They create obstacles because people don't want you in the club, right? They don't want people outsiders in. And so in my actual experience, if you are a minority within the system, you have to be better than everyone else in order to just be treated like an average person within the club, right? And they bring you in resentfully because they have to, because you're so good. Look at Spike Lee. I actually recently did a thing on Apple TV where I did a thing with Spike Lee that I'm very proud of. So I wrote a letter to Spike Lee about how he changed my life with his movie Malcolm X, and he read that letter on the Apple TV special and really touched my heart. And so Spike Lee just got an Oscar now. Essentially it's a lifetime achievement award, right? And he's been doing great work, whether you like his politics or not. He's been doing great objective artistic work since Do the Right Thing, going back over 25 years, right? And personally, I think he should have gotten the Oscar for Malcolm X. I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made, period, by any director. And he didn't get it.
Denzel.
Yeah, great Denzel. And Denzel should have gotten it. And they gave a training day where we can play a corrupt black cop. That's okay, right? But this guy who transforms the world and then gets assassinated by black radicals, that's not something they want to touch, right? And so that's the example of someone who deserved an award, 20, 25 years ago. And they gave him the Lifetime Achievement Award, essentially. I mean, they gave him an award now for his work, for the most recent movie he did, the Black Klansman, which I enjoyed. I don't think it's one of his best movies. It's a good movie.
I haven't seen that one.
It's a good movie. There's much better movies in his repertoire, and they didn't give it for them. And so that's essentially that example of, all right, here's your participation trophy to Spike Lee. I mean, and so no, I don't support any of this fraudulent stuff, and it's all efforts to hold minorities down and to keep us in a box. And it's an effort to make this already non-easy slope for people outside the club an even worse slope. So that's what I mean.
Now, would you agree with me? And this is something I say from afar, from a distance, from everything that I see. But would you agree that white Hollywood liberals are the most, racist and toxic people, that there are? And they're the ones that scream the loudest about trying to say the fans are the racist and toxic ones, And it's just like, when you're projecting that hard and we can see your actions point blank, it's pretty obvious what's going on here. So you would agree with that assessment?
I would 100% agree with it because I've experienced it. I mean, it's, I'm not so stupid as to get myself fired by talking too much, but I have sat in rooms and I've had to keep my mouth shut when I see people making comments that are obvious hypocrisy on race issues, right? They have some of the worst stereotypes of people outside of their community. And again, it comes from this noblesse oblige, of these people are essentially below us and we have to help them and they're weak. I've heard that phrase, like, black people, they're weak. They can't make it on their own. So I got to open this door for them, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've heard deeply racist things and they're unaware of their racism and they're unaware of their belief in their own superiority until I'm in the room. And the funny thing is this, I often, I like to say this and it's true. Everyone in Hollywood thinks they're liberal until they meet me, and then I unmask it, right? and then they discover I'm actually not as left as I'm claiming, right? And my presence annoys people. It's one on a major show that I didn't get the job where I was told you're not the right fit. Afterwards, someone told me that it's just who works with the showrunner. He said, look, the show has a lot of Muslim characters. He didn't want you question the Muslim characters. He didn't want you fixing the inaccuracies. He didn't want you making him feel like he doesn't know what he's talking about. And he didn't want you saying, that's a racist or bigoted. I wouldn't say because Islam is not a race, but that's a bigoted, false, portrayal of that Muslim character. He doesn't want to hear it. He don't want that. He doesn't want that. And that's why he wouldn't put you in the room. I heard that from somebody working directly with him. because the guy didn't want to be challenged.
And the thing is, it's just like they're so quick to judge if someone has a different opinion. Like I remember when, like I wasn't familiar with you when we interacted on Twitter for the first time, you know, and then when you followed me, I followed you back, and then I started seeing some of your tweets. I'm like, this guy doesn't like Trump. I hope you don't get mad at me when I and of course no. Like you
posted some of your stuff I posted, not a lot of it, but some of it
and it's just like that's how, you know, because we've been following each other back on Twitter for over a year now, probably, and
right after Last Jedi, probably about a few months after Last Jedi, so it's a couple.
Okay, and so and then, you know, once I saw like, yeah, this guy's like, because when people follow me, I'll follow, or if someone follows me and I know they don't agree with my politics, I'll see. I was like, okay, in 2 months, let's see if they're still following me. And I kept saying, like, Cameron hasn't unfollowed me yet. Okay. I mean, and it's such an anomaly for someone that does dislike Trump so passionately, which, you know, they just, even if it's just like casual hate, like if they find someone that supports him.
Because whatever issues I have with Trump are because of an actual personal political belief, not the guy's orange, the guy's, you know, crass, whatever. Okay.
Right.
I'm actually politically, I'm more of a libertarian, right? That's where I am, right? I'm there. And so my critiques are not just of Trump, they're of the entire system, because I think
much like Eric July, much like Young Ripa, Eric July, who I just had on the channel a couple of days ago.
I watched that, and I watched it live and it was happening. So yeah, Young Ripa, and so those are my critiques. You know, like I said, I'll be fair. I think Trump has actually been correct on his Middle Eastern policy. I think pulling out of Syria is the right thing. I didn't like it when, you know, Obama and Hillary put us into Syria. I didn't like it when they destroyed Libya. And I mean, and that's when I lost faith in Obama. I said, this guy's doing crazier stuff than the neocons were doing 5 years ago. I mean, and he's a hero. I mean, Libya's a hellhole right now. I have Libyan friends, and they went there and they told me directly, yeah, you know, Tripoli, I spent the entire time in my basement because there's armed gangs walking around here because there's no government anymore. Obama took it away from us, right? And so I mean, my critiques of Trump, everyone, I try to be consistent, and I try to be fair. Like I said, I'll agree with Trump on this, and this. Not a lot of it, but I'll agree on with it, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Right. Yep. So if you're just joining us, we have Cameron Pasha here on a live stream of Geeks and Gamers. If you saw my previous interview with Cameron, we discussed a lot of things within Hollywood, including Star Wars, including Lucasfilm, and some other projects that he's been involved with. To recap the audience, just a quick, give them a couple of projects you've worked on that they might be familiar with. So anyone that's just tuning in will know what's going on.
Sure. I've worked as a screenwriter and producer and director, mostly in television. And some of the more prominent shows I've worked on over the 19 years that I've been here, one of them was a show called Sleeper Cell on Showtime, which was a show that was about a Muslim who's an FBI agent who infiltrates Al-Qaeda and actually stops their terror plans, right? And so that show got a bunch of Golden Globe nominations, Emmy nominations. That show put me on the map. Since then, I've done some genre stuff. You know, I worked on the Bionic Woman remakes. I worked on spy stuff like Nikita on the CW, which was a lot of fun. And, you know, and I've worked as the head writer of the Tron animated series. Most recently, I did another genre show on the CW, which is the Roswell, New Mexico, which is about the aliens, right? It's a reimagining of that show from 20 years ago about aliens living amongst us in Roswell. And so, I mean, that's the kind of work I've been doing. Personally, the kind of material that I'm drawn to, which I am still working to manifest, is a lot of historical epics. You know, because of my background, I'm of Pakistani origin. I'm a practicing Muslim. I like to look at some of the Islamic epic stories that I think are globally interesting that a lot of people have ignored. You know, I've written a movie on the Crusades, but you know, for the first time told from sort of Saladin's point of view, right? Rather than Richard the Lionheart's point of view, so the Muslim Sultan. And then the first movie I sold was to Warner Brothers, which is an epic written in English, like Gladiator, about the Taj Mahal, about the Mughal Empire, about the love, the great romance between the prince and the princess, and he loses his wife, and then he goes crazy and builds a Taj for her. So that's a global story. You don't have to be from India or Pakistan to appreciate that story. That's a Shakespearean tale. So I'm trying to take those epic stories from my cultural background that I think translate into universal tales and tell them. And so I'm making some progress on that.
Okay, good stuff. Yeah, and just someone said that Tron series was great, in all caps. Andy Prime said that. Really? So yeah, that's good stuff right there. Okay, so Daniel James with a super sticker says, "Keep it up." Thank you, Daniel James. Appreciate that. Cellmate, got a favorite Lucasfilm movie outside of Star Wars? I really like Willow. Also, do you call pop or soda? I call it Coke. You're wrong. I call it Coke. I call it Coke.
What's the debate? Is
pop or soda? Pop or soda? Yeah.
Pop has been used since the 1950s, man. I mean, they were talking about Lucas. I like American Graffiti. They would have used pop in that. I mean, Happy Days.
Pop or soda. So again, I call it Coke. Everything's Coke for me. You know, like give me a Coke, give me a Coke. So you say soda, correct?
I say soda. It's like saying FedEx for all kinds of you know, daily mail stuff, and I guess saying Xerox for photocopying when there's also other brands. So.
Yeah. So chat, let's see. A lot of people are saying pop in the chat. So pop. A lot of people say pop.
I see Fizz on there. Yeah.
Wow. Look at there. There's some soda. Okay. So yeah, good stuff. That was a good question. Oh, so favorite Lucasfilm movie outside of Star Wars. Willow is one that comes to mind.
I mean, and if I remember correctly, Raiders of the Lost Ark is Lucasfilm.
But right, yeah. The Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah, I mean, and I love all three of them. I was actually watching I was actually watching yesterday because I'm obsessed with like biblical history. So I was just researching something about new theories about where the Ark of the Covenant is, and so that inspired me to go back on YouTube yesterday and watch that final sequence of when they open the Ark and then the angels come out and kill everybody. I mean, it's a great movie.
It's fantastic. It is fantastic. So that one's going to be mine too. So yeah, that's a good question right there, though, Cellmate, for sure. Okay, Nightwish 1991. I went to film with creative writing as a minor. The Last Jedi script has so many basic writing mistakes that it's unreal. Thank you for revealing writers in Hollywood hate this script too. So on that point, kind of recap what you said in our video before about how your conversation. And he's not here to name names, you know, but. You know, talk about some of your interactions with this movie, talking to your colleagues about it.
Well, you know, like I said, I initially watched the movie and I was shocked that I didn't like it, and I was disturbed by that because I thought I should like it. I mean, I walked out of episode 1 saying, well, you know, I didn't like some of it, but that last epic battle, you know, the Duel of the Fates. I mean, I couldn't get that out of my head. And we saw episode 1 multiple times just to see the Duel of the Fates, right? There was nothing I wanted to see in Last Jedi ever again, even though I did see it again and try to convince myself I would like it. And so, as I started working on other shows and projects, I started sort of quietly trying to figure out, am I crazy? Like, I know I've got some friends on Twitter that have this opinion. What do other people think? And it was interesting. People would tell me privately, like even in the writers' room, they wouldn't really talk about it because, you know, again, Kathleen Kennedy is a very revered figure within the system. You know, and Rian Johnson was being seen as the next thing, right? The system loves to give him awards for even stuff he doesn't deserve, right? You know, and so everyone's afraid to question it because the way the town works is, you know, I've like critiqued someone, and I've later found out someone told someone who told that person, right?
Wow,
it's a small town, right? And I critiqued one project. I won't name who it was. One project I thought that the project had a very racist tone to it, and someone told the showrunner of that project, and then I was done with them. Right, I'm not going to work with that person again. And so people do, and so everyone's very careful of what they say publicly, except for me. And so I started. And people would privately, literally at the water cooler, would say, like, "What do you think about Last Jedi?" I don't know, man. I don't really think it works. And they're all like quietly saying it. And they're making sure it doesn't get back because everyone wants. Because one of the people that said this to me were people that were up for the for the Boba Fett project, and so he can't be saying Kathleen Kennedy. I don't know where she's going. Then privately, these people said to me, "Yeah, man, it's a terrible movie, man." but I gotta work for Boba Fett, so I gotta keep my mouth shut, right?
Wow.
More and more, it started becoming an open conversation that went from the water cooler with time as it started entering the national consciousness through the fandom menace that there is a critique of this, right? And so, you know, now I can say it a little more openly and not just in whisper tones. And I've only met one screenwriter that has said they were fine with the film. But that's because they just had lost faith in Star Wars after the prequels, and so their standards, in their view, were very low. And they're like, it's a dumb kids movie with some explosions. That's all I want from Star Wars anymore. I said, no, man, I got to hold Star Wars up to a higher standard than that, and the prequels are a higher standard than that. So, so whatever. And so that's, I mean, it is a very commonplace perspective. I've not met a single professional screenwriter who has passionately defended the story or believes it's good. And Rian Johnson's a brilliant visual filmmaker. He's got wonderful cinematography. Even The Last Jedi has beautiful cinematography, and that's why George Lucas was very careful in his thing. He's like, it's a beautifully made movie. You know? And that's a very specifically crafted PR response, because that is objectively true. It is a beautifully made movie.
It absolutely is, and that's a good way to. That's one of the few things that was keeping me. I was shocked. It was almost like a PTSD for me. I mean, I was a very big fan of The Force Awakens, and I had a lot of high hopes for The Last Jedi, and it took me a while to really come to grips with what was going on, and I was in denial, clear denial.
Yeah, I get it. I did not want to hate it. I didn't want to.
Yeah, and I mean, but none of us Star Wars fans go into a Star Wars movie wanting to hate it. None of us. Like, I went into Rogue One really wanting to love it, and I never really loved Rogue One. I've liked it. I remember as much as it took me, as I know I get blamed for, or everybody gives me credit for being ahead of the curve with The Last Jedi. I truly wasn't ahead. I was ahead of the curve with the YouTube side of things, but I feel that there were a lot of people that called out The Last Jedi before me. It's just that I got a platform out of it. You know what I mean? But there were people that walked out of there night one and were just like, this is terrible. And that wasn't me. You know, it took me multiple viewings and time to process it in denial. And I went through the process.
It's a grieving thing.
Yeah.
It's like being at a wedding and watching, the bride get shot. You don't know what just happened here. Like, did this actually happen? No, that can't have happened, right? And so I did see someone's super chat come up that, saying they just saw Sleeper Cell, and I want to thank. I think Aaron was their name, and I want to thank them for saying that.
Aaron C. So we just finished Sleeper Cell. Fantastic job, Cameron. Wife and I loved it. Hope you get to do more thrillers. So that is awesome.
I hope so too. And there were also some super chats about Gone with the Wind, which I'm willing to talk about, because I have strong on that too. So
we will definitely get into that one. Okay, where are we at? CH says, Cameron, I'm glad to see you back. I love hearing your perspective from a white, middle-aged Midwesterner. So good stuff right there. And it keeps jumping around on me. These things always do it. I've said many times to friends that the throne room scene is from top to bottom a complete writing disaster. That has been broken down on YouTube. There are people that have broken that down. And it is, once you really see how bad it is, you just feel, because I mean, that first time I saw it, the freaking throne room scene had me going, yeah, wow. But
visually, like, wow, it looks great, and then you start processing it.
Yep. Mexican Iron Man. Interviews like this. Oh, I read that. I'm going to read it again. Interviews like this is why I'm proud to smash the like button. Happy to see Geeks and Gamers honored, and honored to pay a channel as a member. Thank you, Mr. Pasha and Jeremy, for your insights. Can we get a Pasha 1 to 2 times a month? If Cameron has the time, he has the.
I don't want to have the time, man. I want to be making movies. I'll get back to Jeremy, right? Right now, I got some time. I love being on here where I am.
Justin Proper, yay, Cameron. Thanks for popping up in the chat of my stream the other day. Not feeling so good, but I'll make sure everyone behaves. Please send pictures of dogs and puppies on Twitter so I can feel better. Well, Justin, I wasn't aware.
I'm a cat guy. I'm perfectly fine with dogs, but I love cats. So
okay.
You get kitten pictures.
So Justin, sorry you're feeling better. I hope you're feeling better, buddy. I didn't even know you were under the weather or anything, man. So unlike the time I trolled him for everybody go on the Twitter to troll him, please go to Twitter and send him some well wishes. Justin Proper is great. He's been helping out with Park Hopping, our theme park channel, and he's been doing a great job in the Geeks and Gamers forums. So
you guys were on Bloomberg. What I think is Drunk 3PO was on Bloomberg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I haven't been on Bloomberg, man.
Yeah, Park Hopping got featured on Bloomberg. Drunk 3PO is doing a fantastic job over there. By the way, he's closing in on 10,000 subs, guys. There is almost 1,000 people watching the stream. If you go subscribe to Drunk 3PO, okay, you can get him up there. But yeah, Park Hopping's been fantastic, and I'm so proud of my team. Ryan Kendall's been doing an amazing job on Sports Wars and Gaming with Geeks. Man, I am blessed to have such an amazing team backing me up at Geeks and Gamers, and an amazing support system with everybody here. It's been a a hell of a ride the last few months. Darth Vader says, awesome live stream you guys are doing. I love these types of live streams and discussions. Well, I'm going to be doing more live streams moving forward, everybody. I know I have literally abandoned live streams on Geeks and Gamers for the last few months, but I am getting back rolling. This is what, 2 and 3 days you're seeing now. So we're gonna get the ball rolling again. Karan Horn says, Mr. Pasha, awesome to see you again. It definitely is. Alex Slusher for $1. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that. Lori Roberts. Jeremy, thanks for bringing us someone fresh. Love this. Right back at you, Lori. It was a pleasure to meet you in New York. James Tyler. Question for Mr. Pasha. I was wondering if he and Hollywood know the word B-A-I-Z-U-O. It's a word that means white.
That's the Chinese word, right?
Yeah, yeah. White left, as the Chinese don't like SJWs. So
well, I mean, let's just say that the average person in Hollywood, just sees China as a pocketbook, right? And so they're going to do whatever they need to make the people of China happy. I think that if I've heard that term used, and I will let anyone who's a Chinese speaker confirm whether that is an accurate term or not. I don't speak Chinese, so I've heard that term used to represent those sort of the white SJW who they have contempt for. I've worked in China. I actually worked in Beijing. After Nikita, I was brought there to create sort of a Chinese version of a female spy show, which had never been allowed before because the Chinese Communist government does not allow TV shows about espionage. So it was a bit of a breakthrough, right? And so, because that's how they literally, there's no espionage in the People's Republic, because they got it all locked down and the people are all free of espionage or whatever. So I did there, and I'd had a lot of conversations with my Chinese colleagues, and they are pretty straightforward. Christanova, they're pretty straightforward in their views about America. I mean, they do see America as a culture that's a failed culture. I mean, they see it as people that have become rich and they're decadent and they're near the end of their time, and they're trying to build themselves up to be the next group that replaces that, and they're on their way. And I think Hollywood is facilitating that, right? And so, and the idea that our values, our current social justice values, are values that are shared by the people that I worked with in China, that's the only one I can talk about, it's just really not true. I mean, they're they were like these Hong Kong protesters. We had the beginnings of a little bit of a Hong Kong protest when I worked there a few years back. And they were like, oh, man, this is all a CIA plot to destabilize our country, man. Screw these guys. Right. And so, that was their view. And so they weren't like, oh, these people are fighting for our freedoms. They're like, man, this is your country trying to mess us up, man. I hope the Chinese government smashes these insidious protesters. Right. So, I mean, that's China. Right. And so I think and as you saw, all the Disney, Disney was doing all this Black Lives Matter stuff recently and was out there promoting John Boyega, and people rightfully mocked them by posting the posters of Star Wars that were shown in China where John Boyega had been digitally removed, because their belief was the Chinese people are racist and don't want to watch Black people. And I'm sure that there are enough people demographically who have that attitude that the marketing people decided that that's real. And instead of saying, we're going to give what they do to America, which is, you guys are primitive, we're going to give you the right moral values through our entertainment, they simply said, oh, we want your money, your moral values aren't our moral values, well, we'll give you what you want.
Yep.
That's how it works.
And I apologize if I'm looking away. I've got to text my webmasters to let them know I'm live, because they always want me to tell them, because when we have like 1,000 people watching and we send all of them to the website, I want them to be aware. So again,
let me add one thing. I just want to say,
go ahead.
Abu Nas, because I just saw Abu Nas showed up, and he is a deep spiritual brother to me, and we're both Muslims, right? But we have a very deep, passionate connection on Star Wars and philosophically. And I just want to say salam, peace to Abu Nas. I hope you throw us some. He threw us a chat right there.
Yep, there it is. So Abu Nas, my boy Abu Nas, love Abu Nas. Sorry, I'm getting I'm late getting to this, but I'll catch what I missed on the playback. Seeing you and my brother Cameron shooting the breeze and dropping the science is a pleasant sight, and I love it. God bless you both. Thank you, Abu Nas. Abu Nas is great. He really is. He's a great guy.
From the heart, he's a good person.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think it's just important to kind of, highlight these situations because they get so overblown. But like Abu Nas and I have had disagreements in the past, and he reached out to me privately, and he was very upset with me, like on a, just on a a certain level. Like, and he expressed that to me. And at that point in time, we had never really talked privately, much or anything. And he sent me an email telling me about his displeasure. And I just replied with my phone number. So give me a call. Let's talk about it, and we talked for 45 minutes to an hour, Abu Nas. We didn't necessarily agree, but we understood where both sides did. He respected me so much after I gave him my perspective, and I didn't change his mind. He didn't change my mind, but we both had perspective to understand where each of us was coming from. And again, man, it's just it's disagreements are a great thing, and conversations and dialogue. It's a great thing, and we need more of it. So, but he's good people, and I love Abu Nas. So. You're gonna go you can try to go on the Dark Council with him one of these weeks.
I'm trying to, man.
Yeah.
You got drug 3PO, man. I'm darker than drug 3PO. What's that crap, man? He's like the head of what Abu Nas? What is this racial colonization, man? You got drug 3PO, and you come on.
Oh, drunk 3PO getting called out. But yeah, so Geeks and Gamers.
I love you. You're good people too.
geeksandgamers.com. Please go to our new website. We just launched our new website. Create a profile. Go over to the forums. Your profile comes with a blog, so you can create your blog and share that out on social media. And please consider signing up for the premium membership. It's only $10 a month, a minimum. You can give as much as you want, but I promise you have my word that I will continue to develop this site. I will continue to put as much resources as we have behind this website to make it a place that you all enjoy. We've had a few hiccups along the way since we launched last week on Friday Night Tights when we had like 4,000 people watching. I sent all those people to the site and it crashed. But I've improved our servers. My webmasters have implemented a report issue button. So if you have any issues at all, please report those issues to my webmasters and we will address it. We're a small team and I've dumped almost all my money into this damn website. So any support is appreciated. Okay, let's get back to the discussion. Spike 76 says Sleeper Cell was my show. Wow. So all caps, he says Sleeper Cell was my show. So a big fan of Sleeper Cell. And so you have Cameron on it right here. So that's actually pretty cool. I'm glad.
And if any of you have a chance, Matthew Kadish and I did a 3-hour video on Sleeper Cell going scene by scene over 2 seasons, right? So get a chance, go to Matthew. After 3 hours, I was like, man, I think I got other stuff to do. And Matt's like, I got more questions. I was like, man, I gotta go. I actually got stuff to do, man. 3 hours, but it's a good video.
Peter Hahn says, where did it go? Hang on. Oh, wait. Here. Well, let's read that one. I disagree with a lot of things with Jeremy, but still love his work and respect his opinions. Geeks and Gamers getting better and better. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that is all I've ever asked for. I don't ask for anybody to agree with me. I just ask you to respect where I'm coming from. Go back to a quote from Tupac. Don't have to bump this, but please respect it. That was from Crazy, one of my favorite Tupac songs on his album Machiavelli. Who knows all about that? Okay, so Jeremy spent so much money on the website he can't afford In-N-Out Burger road trips. That's actually
true. I'm going to share with you something. And again, religion is a personal thing, but I want to share with you something. I loved, and I still love In-N-Out Burgers, right? And you have them. They're really good. And when I grew up, my family at home, we only ate what is called halal meat. It's like kosher, right? And so then in college afterwards, I just say, I'm going to eat anything I want. I just don't eat pork, right? And then a couple of years ago, I went back to just eating halal meat. And the biggest thing I've missed is that I don't have In-N-Out Burgers anymore. And that's a spiritual sacrifice, guys. I mean, I miss those. I'm like, God, I got to get something for this, man, because I'm turning those down.
I don't know if I'm that. I am not happening. So not happening. But yeah, In-N-Out Burger. Woo. Love me some In-N-Out Burger. Pendulum Games and Hobbies Archive, $20 super chat. Thank you so much. My issue with episode 8, they put woke crap in major roles. They put woke crap in major roles who can't act, make no sense being there. As a viewer, I don't care who they're screwing in bed, the color of their skin, as long as they can act and have a reason for being there. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, episode 8 is I think it's the breaking point of everything that's been going on in Hollywood. There are always going to be people that see things before others, and there are always going to look. There's YouTubers that are highly respected that when they've reached out privately and they said, took me till Solo, bro. It took me till Solo to see it, you know? And then that's when you start really, it's like the walls start shrinking in on you, like, oh shit, you know, and you start seeing all these fucking problems that you were just, as a fan, you know, you were just ignoring. You know, it's just like team sports. Geekdom has turned into team sports. You know, I can watch my NFL team, okay, and you can watch yours, and I will critique the fuck out of yours, but I don't see any problems with mine, you know. And so it's team sports. But once you do get red pilled and you start seeing it, it's like, whoa. So yeah, I mean, with episode 8, that was the breaking point, you know, for the entertainment industry as far as I'm concerned. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's what I said, that this was the culmination, as you said, culmination. This is where all of that sort of subversive ideology that I had seen growing in the course of my career, happening amongst writers and amongst storytellers, had reached its peak. And it had reached the ultimate peak, which is to take the most global mainstream franchise in human history, Star Wars, the universal franchise that brought us all together, and insert this garbage into that, right? And what did it do? It broke the fandom, it broke the franchise. It actually, in many ways, I think it affected national politics, right? I think Trump was like, "This is great for me." Let's be straight here, right? And so that's what it did. But that's because these bad ideas ultimately had to get to that level of prominence before people said, "Man, it sounds dumb. That's not good storytelling. I don't want to be preached at. That's not even a good lesson you're preaching at me. I don't believe in any of this crap. What is this stuff?" Right? Yep. And so it had to get, unfortunately, it had to get to that place. It's a historical process, and it led to new things. I mean, you and I are friends because of it. Gamers is a phenomenon because of this, right? And that is not their intention, and yet they have created this new world.
Absolutely. I mean, in all honesty, as much bad as TLJ did for so much, it has produced so much good unintentionally, and from fans taking matters into their own hands, you know, and that's the beautiful part of it. So again, thank you for the super chat. Well, I appreciate that, John Matrix. Tron Uprising was great, and Tron 3 needs to happen because Tron Legacy is super underrated. You know, Tron, huh?
Yeah, the Tron sequel, Tron was a good movie, and then Tron.
I feel like we're going to get, and again, I know that recent events within the world and the pandemic has kind of changed the landscape of Hollywood. I believe that the idea for a new Tron movie or a show was at least, and maybe you can speak to this. I haven't even asked you about this, but I believe that there was something that was being discussed because Walt Disney World is building a Tron attraction, a really awesome Tron attraction at the Magic Kingdom in Orlando. And usually that coincides with movies. So like they built Toy Story Land to line up with Toy Story 4. And obviously they've got the Land of Pandora. James Cameron is an anomaly with Disney because he actually does have some creative control over the project on the property. And I'm sure that was supposed to tie in with the Avatar movies, the 12 that were supposed to be released at this point, that he's never even made another sequel. But
can I say something? I didn't like Avatar. I saw one. I didn't like it.
I enjoy it. I've only seen it once. I will say this about it. It's a beautiful shot movie, which so was The Last Jedi. So, I've only seen it once, and I found it to be.
The plot is Pocahontas. I mean, we've seen the plot before. Right?
Absolutely, it's fine. That attraction at Walt Disney World, Flight of Passage, is probably the single greatest attraction I've ever experienced at any theme park. It is absolutely incredible. And there's a lot of levels to that. I don't want to get too far into that discussion, but there's a lot of levels to it because I don't care about the Avatar movie necessarily, but walking into that themed world and riding that attraction, it's a mind-blowing experience. And it just is what's so frustrating about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, you know, because it's like, God, you guys screwed this up so bad. But
that's incomprehensible to make this park without any of the original Star Wars. I mean, it's so when I was with them, I was like, come on, guys, this doesn't make any sense. I work in the industry. This makes no sense. I don't want to go to the park, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Just put Vader there. Just put the cantina. How hard is this?
Hang on just a minute. You know what, Steven? There, you've earned that. So go ahead and take it, buddy. You've got a wrench right now. So you've earned the wrench. Go ahead, buddy. Have at it. Plug whatever you need to plug. Within reason, obviously. But anything you have going on, Steven, plug it, boom. But yeah, so as far as going back to Avatar, yeah, I mean, I've seen it one time. I don't really need to ever see it again. I might watch it at some point because the only reason I would watch it is because of the attraction at Walt Disney World. Yeah. But outside of that, I really don't have a lot of I don't really care about it, you know. So it's amazing how that movie became such a phenomenon by word of mouth. You know what I mean? Like, because it didn't open up very.
Are you talking Avatar? Which movie are you talking about?
Avatar. Yeah,
Avatar. It's Cameron, so I mean it's going to be a phenomenon.
Yeah.
You know, and it was because he was doing this motion capture in a new way, right, and making it a whole movie that's essentially motion capture. So that was revolutionary. You know, it's just he is a great filmmaker, and he's a great storyteller. You know, you got Titanic, you got Terminator 2, you got all these incredible things. His legacy said, I think that if more time had been spent on creating a unique and interesting script, that it would have been more worthy of the hype of the visuals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe one day I'll watch it again, but yeah, I was pretty forgettable. You watch it, you're like, wow, that was really beautiful, but there's no cultural impact to that. Like, you don't ever see anybody dressing up like it. You don't see people collecting anything. There's
Harley
just nothing.
Quinn had cultural impact. I mean, Harley Quinn had global impact, and it wasn't a good movie. At least the cut that we got wasn't a good movie.
Yep, exactly. But and that's a whole different bag of worms we get opened up. How they, as much as a lot of people did like Suicide Squad, I didn't hate it as much as everyone else did, but I didn't like it either per se. I mean, I liked it, but it was a bad movie. But Harley was like a phenomenon, and then they completely ruined her in Birds of Prey. What?
I mean, but the interesting thing is, I follow David Ayer on Twitter, and now there's a movement for the Ayer cut, and I'm excited for that because he's putting out more and more hints as to what was in the Ayer cut, and it was apparently this very compelling. It's really the original version was Harley Quinn's story of her learning to get out of this abusive relationship. That's an interesting journey. And in the end, she has a chance to go back with Joker, and she turns against him for her new friends, right?
Yep.
That's a journey I'd watch, especially with that characterization of how she was portrayed there. And then you got Birds of Prey, which is, you know, I knew Birds of Prey was going to fail back last year because it was the last of those woke fake feminist dramas that were coming out. And I heard that Charlie's Angels wasn't even that feminist, but it was marketed as such, right? Mm-hmm. And so there was a whole line of these, the last Terminator movie. And by the time that people saw the disaster that was the new Terminator movie and how it failed, and then Charlie's Angels failed, this thing was already so far in the pipeline, there was no way to stop it. It had been greenlit when everyone thought this is what the market wants, man. This is the future. But they couldn't stop it anymore. And I said back in like October, November, that Birds of Prey is going to be the last one of these for a while at least, because it's going to knock down this fake feminist narrative. And the industry's going to be like, I'm not making money on this.
Yep. Darth Vader, yes, I do see your comments. I've been seeing your comments. And yes, I will be doing another car video at some point. Matter of fact, I was on with Hill versus Babyface on his live stream early this morning or late last night, however you want to view it. And I actually showed him the one with Cecil when I was in New York, where me and Cecil did the cab video fly. That was one of my favorite ones. So yeah, everybody wants car videos, and they will be happening very soon. Joshua Sam, hi, Jeremy and Cameron. It's nice to see you two. I have a question off topic from Hollywood, but what's your guys' opinions on colleges recently, like University of California system, repealing laws that bans affirmative action? Are you familiar with this?
We're beginning to get like a weird reception.
Yeah,
so I lost some of what
you actually started getting fuzzy, so I don't know if we had an issue there. So
okay. You get disconnected. I'm going to try to move to another server.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like we might have lost him. So let's see what happens. May have to kick him and have him join back in, maybe. He is completely frozen, though. So let's see what happens. Should I kick him and let him try to come back? Yep. There we go. All right.
I just switched over to another.
That was so weird. That was so weird.
You know, with NSA's following us Muslims around. You never know what they're doing.
I'm back now. Okay, so I thought Disney took us down for a minute. I thought Disney got us. Yeah, I hit leave studio and I meant to kick you. I was too preoccupied, but either way, kick Jeremy. Kick Jeremy.
You're punching bag. Like I said, you're no longer the leader of the Phantom Menace. As I said, I'm now the leader of the Phantom Menace.
I saw that. I saw you tweeted that.
I'm the guy in charge.
It's over. Cameron is your new leader of the Phantom Menace. Here, you know what? I'm gone. Take over.
Yeah, it's all good, man. It's all good. All right, I don't know what to do anymore. Let's be like the other leader. Okay, I don't know how to run this thing. Is he actually gone?
Kick myself again. Just I said take over. I said I'm gone. I'm kicking myself. So anyway, okay, we are back. We got a little sidetracked there with some technical issues.
Well, there was a question you had. You were reading a chat that I didn't hear. So what was that?
Yeah. So let me get back to that. So Joshua Sam, $20 super chat says, "Hi Jeremy and Cameron." God damn it moved on me. Hang on. Where did it go? Hi, Jeremy and Cameron. It's nice to see you two. I have a question off topic from Hollywood, but what's your guys' opinions on colleges recently, like the University of California system, repealing laws that bans affirmative action? Mm-hmm. So are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I saw that today. I think the LA Times did a report on that. And I stated earlier in this broadcast that, like I said, I'm a follower of Malcolm X. I believe these things that are being called affirmative action are in practice just used as quota systems. And they're used to in my opinion, marginalize minorities. I'm a minority myself, right? And when someone hands you a bone like that, it's because they don't believe that you can get it on your own, and they want to make sure that you can't get it on your own. So again, this is all this political correct mania that's happening right now because everyone's afraid of the current environment where it's not just an ideological war; it's become a physical altercation. People are afraid of having their statues torn down and having their buildings set on fire. So all of this is a reaction to that. I personally think, and this is what I said on the last stream. I could be wrong, but this is what I believe. I personally believe everything that is happening right now, especially with the rioting and everything else, is just going to put Trump in office. I just think he's got it. I think he's got this landslide like Nixon in 1972. I think it's coming, and people in Hollywood don't see it coming. They all think I'm mentally ill because all they're doing is regurgitating. I literally had this conversation with a friend of mine. I was like, he's going to win, man. He's going to win big. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's this. He was impeached, and this, General Flynn, and this and that. I said, yeah, nobody cares about that, man. They're seeing that their streets are on fire. Yep. They're seeing the Democratic politicians, Democratic cities first impose incredibly harsh lockdowns on people. I just came back from the barber today. Yes, I have a barber. Came to the barber, and she's Vietnamese immigrant, escaped communism to come here and establish her hair salon here in Santa Monica, and she's been voting Democratic, and the hair salon was shut down for 2 months because of Governor Newsom's orders on the lockdown, right? And so she almost lost her home. She has a kid about to go to college. She almost lost her business. So I was talking to her. She's like, yeah, we got to vote these Democrats out.
Yeah.
I mean, because it affected her life in a very real way. And so I was trying to explain to my Hollywood friends, man, don't you see what's happening? I personally think, this is my opinion, I personally think that Trump, had none of the events of 2020 happen, I personally think Trump might not have won in November. I think maybe people just were tired of the drama around him and might have been just like, we just want a quiet, milquetoast guy like Biden and just peace and quiet for a little bit. And then all this craziness happens, you lock us all into our homes. You don't let us go to the beach. The story about masks keeps changing. The story about lockdown keeps changing. Then you say you can't go out and protest the lockdown, but I'm going to have 1 million people protesting racism. That's okay. The virus doesn't matter there. And then suddenly those things unfortunately, some of those things have, bad elements come in and turn those into riots. And then now those riots are spiraled into their own life. And you've got autonomous zones, in Seattle, right? And it's just like, hey, this country's falling apart. In a moment like this, does anybody want a milquetoast dude? They want a dude that projects power. They want a dude that projects, I'm going to keep this country together. Nixon did that in 68 and 72. I actually like Nixon a lot, right? I actually support the Nixon Foundation here. I actually donate to them, right? I think he was a brilliant visionary statesman. And he milked it. He milked it and he won. And Trump is using the same rhetoric, the silent majority, which is a real phenomenon. And I'm trying to explain to people in Hollywood, and they ain't listening to me, man. I was like, look, I could be wrong. I don't think I am. I think this guy's going to get 60, 70% of the vote. I think that's where we're going. And it's because you morons didn't plan any of this, your subversion out properly, right?
Yep.
Blew it up in your face.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that they don't see it. Like this happened 4 years ago. 4 years ago, they went through the same thing, and it's even worse now. And it's hilarious. And I am going to fully enjoy The Meltdown. People keep saying, Jeremy, why don't you upload to your personal channel, which I will start uploading to my personal channel. But trust me, my personal channel is going to grow significantly in November when I'm doing reactions to celebrities melting down because Trump won again. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. I can't wait.
The one thing that I will say on a very serious level, and again, you don't have to agree with this, but this is my belief, and it's not a good belief. I do think that we're heading for a very painful and extended period of civil strife after the election. I think, especially if Trump wins, I do think there will be people that will not accept that outcome. And I think, especially now that we've got the genie of violence and social insurgency out already, I don't think it's going back in the bottle. And I'm afraid for the future of this country. And this is going to sound extreme, Jeremy, and I really hope I'm wrong on this. I would not be surprised if in 2021, let's say Trump wins, I wouldn't be surprised if there are secession movements in California and New York that are going to build on these riots. And that's going to be a problem for the future of this country. That's going to require military response. I don't want any of that to happen. I'm just stating that I think that's a possible outcome of where we're going.
I absolutely agree that it's a real possibility. I obviously wouldn't want that to happen, but the way that the media handles all of this, and social media has elevated it to the next level. I just don't. I mean, because if Trump wins. And again, if you're joining us, this is Cameron Pasha. He's a Hollywood producer. We did an interview on the channel just about a month ago. It was a very successful interview. A lot of people asked to have him back. We're talking about a lot of things going on in the entertainment industry. Currently, we're talking about how Hollywood can't seem to wrap their head around the fact that they are actively campaigning for Trump. As much as they are trying to act like they're not, they are. But if Trump does win in November, yeah, I mean, considering everything that's going on and how the media is probably going to face the reality, like they might be looking at, a Trump presidency for the next 16 years with the family members and everything. Sure. If they keep going that way, and I think they're going to lose their mind. So, unbelievable. These people are nuts. So, but again,
the joke is this, man. I worked hard. Like everybody else, I went to Hollywood to meet hot actresses, right? I wanted to date Margot Robbie. That's why I came to Hollywood. And suddenly, right at the moment when I might be about to become the dude that might have access to that, the whole world goes to hell. What the hell? What the hell? I can't. There's no more. We're not going to be doing no more Oscar parties. This is my angle, man. I'm like, at the moment I'm at the verge of it, it's all taken away because the whole country falls apart.
Hollywood dude admitting it, like, yo, I came to meet hot chicks.
What a shock. I'm the first guy in Hollywood that came to Hollywood to meet girls. Come on, let's get serious here.
That's why Filoni was kissing ass the other day, or that clip you guys saw at the women's conference. He just wanted to get laid. That's all there was to it. He was like, ladies, I care about you. I respect you. No.
I will say this. I'm going to be careful what I say. I've worked with several of these male feminist types, and they are the sleaziest, most sexually touchy, harassy people. And they're the most, I support your rights. Come over here, baby, while I stroke your back, right? I mean, it's just like, yep. It's all predator game. That's all it is, right?
Yep. Respect women. Yes, respect women. So, okay, let me get back to it. Sanctuary of Geeks. Hi, Jeremy. Is Pasha familiar with Doctor Who? If so, what are his thoughts on the current woke state? It's worse than Star Wars. I am not, but are you familiar with Doctor Who?
Well, I'm very familiar with the original series because I was obsessed with it as a child. I grew up in Brooklyn, and they would show that on the PBS channels, and I would watch it daily, right? I would watch, and so I watched all the first 5 Doctors, right? I was obsessed with them. I was a big Peter Davison fan because he was the Doctor of the time when in the 80s. When I was a kid, I actually went to a Doctor Who convention and I met him, which was my first big celebrity. Like, oh my God, an autograph from the Doctor, and I couldn't believe it. I was like 12 or 14 or whatever, something like that. And so, and then I got heartbroken when it was off there for 20 years. And I'll be honest, I didn't really start getting into the new version. For me, that was the classic Doctor Who. I actually recently watched the first couple of episodes of the reimagined Doctor Who that had started about 10 years ago. And I like them. From what I understand, since I do not watch the new version of the show, what I understand where it's gotten with the new female Doctor Who, from the critiques that I've seen, it is largely the same kind of subversion storytelling philosophy that I've been critiquing. And from the critiques I've seen, I think Doomcock has done several videos about it. If those are accurate representations of where Doctor Who has gotten, it's not my Doctor Who. And I don't think and from what I understand of the ratings, it's not what the audience wants either. And so that's another example of you're not giving the market what it wants, and you're going to lose your product.
Yeah, from what I understand, because Gary from Nerdrotic talks about it a lot too. Apparently, it's even worse than Star Wars, which is almost hard to comprehend. But yeah, I mean, people that I respect a lot, and are involved in that fandom, yeah, they said 100% it's worse than Star Wars. I'm like, my gosh, that is just unbelievable to me. Holding out for a hero girl, $5 super chat. Cameron, please comment on what they did to Gone with the Wind. There you go. Floor is yours on that one.
All right, so I'm going to say this, and these are just my views, and I hope you'll, because I know that this has become a very emotional issue. It's been an emotional issue for a while. It's been charged right now. So I'm just going to share my honest views, and however you take them, you take them. So I'm a published author, right? I've got a couple of historical novels, and I was inspired. Like I said, I write historical epic scripts, and now I've got 2 novels. I was inspired by Margaret Mitchell's Gone with the Wind. I read it when I was in college, and it blew me away as a literary creation. It is to this day one of the greatest novels that I've ever read. It's up there with Moby Dick by Melville, right? As a work of literature, it is absolutely stunning. Its understanding of human psychology, male-female psychology, its representation of an entire civilization and how it destroys itself and it tries to rebuild. It's all great. It also reflects the mindsets of the heroes. The heroes of the story are Southerners who own slaves and who watch that world collapse around them, and they have to rebuild in a new world where they don't know where they belong. And so it reflects how they understand their reality and how they understand their own relationships with their slaves. And so as an author, one of the hardest things that I have to do is understand points of view that I don't share and present them honestly. And I think Margaret Mitchell presented how, because one of the things I think a lot of people don't understand is why is antebellum South still such a cultural phenomenon? That people still do dress-ups in it, right? What was the mythology of it, how it saw itself? How is it that for generations, people would look back at, this, what to many of us seems like a clear civil war between good and evil, as the war of northern aggression, right? How could people see it that way? Is it just because they're evil, or do they have a civilizational point of view that they saw? And that book expresses that point of view, and that point of view is very disturbing for people not from that point of view. It's still a brilliant book. The movie is one of the greatest movies ever made, objectively. I mean, it's a film that I have in my collection. I went and saw it in the theater last year. Again, they had a special screening of it, and the people that got up that sponsored it said, there are some critiques of this movie that are fair critiques. We're just going to present it, and then we can have a conversation about it, which is what I think needs to be the legacy of Gone with the Wind. The great thing that Gone with the Wind as a film did is that it actually pushed forward African American rights at a time when Hollywood was resisting them. You've got Hattie McDaniel wins the first Oscar, a black person, a black woman, right? And if you watch the YouTube clips of her winning, she wasn't even allowed to sit at the table with Vivian Leigh and Clark Gable. Vivian Leigh and Clark Gable would have had her at the table, but the hotel's rules did not allow Hattie McDaniel to sit with the white people. And so she wins the Oscar and she has to go sit at the black table, right? And that's there, you can see it on the screen. Mm-hmm. This represents a historical moment. You have Selznick was trying to push the conversation of race forward as best as he could in the 1930s, and we can critique him and say he wasn't woke and these people weren't woke, and they weren't woke by 2020, 1939. They couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that they hold them to these standards. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and so all that movie as a work of filmmaking is a stunning work of cinematography, a stunning work of costuming, a brilliant script, and some of the greatest acting you're ever going to see. That's all there. And yes, you have these portrayals of African Americans, but they primarily focus on the house slaves, which is Mammy and the others, just like the book does, right? And they're portrayed as people that are loyal to this family that has enslaved them. So even after slavery, they remain with them and they're protecting them. And guess what? That happened, right? It happened enough that Malcolm X discussed it. Malcolm X discussed the critique of the field slave versus the house slave and their difference in thinking. When Malcolm X was attacked by other black scholars in his lifetime, right, who were like, saying, you got to be like Martin Luther King, man. You got to work within the system. You got to work. He said that's the house slave speaking, because you have the philosophy. We got it good. I'm not working in the fields. I'm here with the master, and those people remained loyal to the master when they weren't a master. If Malcolm X can discuss that this is a real psychology, why can't we see that in film and in novels because it's a real psychology of human beings. It's essentially multiple generations of Stockholm syndrome. You know, you've had several hundred years of Stockholm syndrome, and you had people that went along with it after the system collapsed. And so that's an objective reality. And I think if we could have conversation at this kind of level of discourse, I think that movie still has great relevance to our conversation today. But we're not having this discourse. We're just having let's ban
reactions.
Yeah.
It's just a reaction. It's just a reaction to a social media outrage, or potentially trying to react to avoid more social media outrage. And it is holding a 1939 film to 2020 social and political standards is the stupidest thing imaginable. I'm tired of the rewriting of history. I'm tired of erasing history. It's the simple philosophy, about if you erase history, you're going to repeat it. Like, you learn from history. You don't erase it to forget about it. You learn from it. And it just shows that these people are not really concerned with the points they're trying to make. Any logical, rational human being is thinking, yeah, I don't like racism. I don't want to see racism. I don't want that to happen. And if you're really passionate about it, then you would want to keep historical documents and context to every conversation, whether it's good or bad, so that you can teach yourself and future generations to avoid falling into those, different situations. But no, let's just erase all of it and pretend it never existed. It's the dumbest logic imaginable. But that's where we're at.
And I'm gonna share my personal spiritual and religious beliefs, because I was actually approached recently because all these statues are coming down, and a Catholic gentleman who follows me on Twitter said that a friend of his who was a Muslim activist in St. Louis was going to lead a mob and tear down the statue of St. Louis, right? Who the city's named after, was a Catholic saint, right? And I said, I beg you, please put me in touch with him. He didn't want me to do that, but I said, let me write it. So I wrote an email letter to this person, please give it to him as a Muslim, saying, do not tear down that statue of St. Louis. For one, in Islam, we are required to protect Christians and Jews and their religious things, and St. Louis is a Catholic saint. So, it is a violation of Prophet Muhammad's letter to the Christian monks of Sinai, where he said all of your holy sites will be protected by us, and that St. Catherine's in Sinai still has that letter, the monks of Sinai do. And so that's a violation of my religion. Number two, there in my tradition, in the Quran, there are multiple verses that say again and again, travel through the world and go to the ruins of the ancient civilizations and learn from them, because they were greater than you and now they're no longer here. That is a consistent message, because in Arabia had a lot of these old, ruins and, Petra and all that stuff. And the Quran says you have to go and learn from history, go back and look at their old relics and their statues and see how that grand civilization ended, right? Mm-hmm. So that you can learn from it. So I wrote this letter. I said, you must prevent him because he's violating my religion. And I hope I didn't hear that the St. Louis statue has been brought down. I hope it's not. But I wanted to share that because to me, it's something very, very visceral. Everything you're saying for me, Jeremy, is a religious requirement. I feel that if I destroy history, there's a reason the pyramids are still standing and the Sphinx is still standing in Muslim countries like Egypt, right? Because you got to learn from these. These are idols, but you got to learn from them, And so what's happening right now breaks my heart on a spiritual level.
Yep. Yeah, and that was very well said. And I want to, echo the thoughts of a lot of the people in chat. I mean, Cameron, just having Cameron on here is fantastic. I hope you guys do enjoy these types of conversations. These are the things I'm going to be moving Geeks and Gamers more into is having conversations with, intelligent and interesting people from all perspectives. Now that we have the website up and running, I am going to be shifting the focus of what we want this channel to be. We're not just going to just be the same old, read the articles and bitch about Hollywood. We're going to try to start having conversations with people that, have some insight. Cameron clearly has, a lot of insight, and he can, validate a lot of the things that I and others have been talking about over the last several years about the identity politics and about the narratives and about the echo chamber that is Hollywood. And, it's one thing for me to get up here and say it. It's another thing to have someone that's not a white dude, to come in here and talk about it. And, there's pretty much nothing that any of the critics of that argument can say at this point when you have someone like Cameron, who's not necessarily a Trump supporter. He's not a white dude. and he's not a Christian dude. He's just he's a person with common sense is essentially what he should be labeled as. He's a person with common sense. That's it. Who gives a fuck what his religion is? Who gives a fuck what his politics are? Really what comes down to it is what defines a person is their opinion on The Last Jedi. I'm kidding. What defines a person is, just their ability to look at things from a common sense approach and objectively. And if you can do that, I don't care what your opinions are. I don't. But yeah, so very well said. And again, thank you to everybody here. Smash the melee button if you are here and you just tuned in. We're having a conversation with Cameron Pasha, Hollywood producer. And got some more questions. So Aaron C. said, we just finished Sleeper Cell. Fantastic job, Cameron. Wife and I loved it. Hope you do more thrillers. Now, do you have any projects that are in the I know with everything going on, I don't know if that's a question you can even answer at this point.
I've got stuff going on. I mentioned some of it. It's evolved since then, so I can talk a little bit more about it. I was directly impacted by this lockdown, and I'm very passionately against the lockdown. I think that there were better ways to handle this. I think we could have protected the vulnerable. And I live with my mom. I take care of her. She's 77 years old. I don't want her to get this virus. And there's ways to protect those who are vulnerable to it. I didn't think shutting down civilization was the answer. And I was directly impacted by it. I had a major project that I think I mentioned earlier in the live stream. The very first movie I sold was the Taj Mahal to Warner Brothers, right? And then that movie just sat there. The script sat there inside of Warner's library, and they just never made it. But I was approached to turn that into an epic miniseries by a major, I will not reveal the studio, but it's a major studio, and we closed a deal on it. And I was like, wow, this is it. I'm about to become the showrunner of this huge epic series. It'll be like Gone with the Wind or Game of Thrones set in the days of the Mughals, the Mughal Empire, right? And then just in April, literally the day that I was supposed to sign the final page of the contract and get paid, they pulled the project because of the lockdown. The whole thing vanished. So this major career break, something I've been working on for 20 years, goes away because of lockdown. So that's gone. But now we're trying to find other ways to resurrect it with other people. But the good thing is, and I mentioned this project on the last thing, and people were curious about it. Hail, Perry Chan. I've been developing a project that's sort of this Game of Thrones epic series set in the Ottoman Empire. It's a true story about the first queen of the Ottoman Empire, who was actually a Ukrainian slave girl. She was this blonde Ukrainian girl from a village who was captured and sold into slavery in Turkey, right? And she ended up in the harem of the Ottoman Sultan and ends up outsmarting 300 other women to become the queen. She outsmarts them all, and the Sultan falls in love with her and freed her and made her the first queen, right? And so her story is incredible, and it's set in the backdrop of all the wars between the Ottomans and Eastern Europe. So it's an amazing tale. I'm going to be careful what I can say because we haven't made the announcements formally, but I will say this. Thankfully, we are making a deal right now with a major director who fell in love with the script. We had a meeting with her, and I'm very proud of that. And I hope to be able to announce that hopefully on Deadline or Variety very shortly. But that's have me and have this very powerful female filmmaker who I really admire coming together to make this epic series. I hope that works out. And then another project that just resurrected recently. I want to see the show, Sasha. I want to see it too. Another project that resurrected in the time that in the few weeks that you and I have spoken, I wrote an incredible, in my view, incredible. I wrote a very different and incredible version of the Arabian Nights that I don't think has ever been shown, right? I wrote a series that's told all from Scheherazad's point of view, where it's like The Usual Suspects, where Scheherazade is a spy who's infiltrating the palace of the evil sultan who's killing all the women, and she's meeting the real life people that become the models for Alibaba, Sinbad, Aladdin, and all these people. And you watch her as she develops these incredible tales that will become the famous mythical stories of Sinbad and whatever that we know, in a Usual Suspects manner, as she makes these tales while going on these adventures with the real versions of these people. So that project I'd sold a few years ago. It's been sitting there again in a library, not moving. And then we are now in a conversation with a major animator who's got a very powerful special effects company. He worked actually on the Star Wars movies. And so I have to be careful what I say about Star Wars, but I'll be honest with them when they came out. I like the movie, I didn't like that one. That's great. But we are hopefully working to make a partnership with him, and I think with that level of special effects, somebody of that caliber who's worked on the greatest movies of the last 10 years, special effects, as my partner on this. I'm hoping to have that become a real series season 2.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, it sounds like everybody here, the 1,000 people watching, are very interested, and that sounds great. So, yeah, if you guys are just tuning in, smash the melee button, like the video. We are joined by Cameron Pasha. I always enjoy having conversations with Cameron, so let's continue the discussion. Johnny the Whiz Kid, if Hollywood elitists are inciting or indicating violence, violent protesters to keep doing their thing, why is it hard to stop them? So if they're inciting them or indicating violent protesters to keep doing their thing, why is it so hard to stop them?
Oh, who's going to stop them?
Yeah, I mean,
we've got a First Amendment. They have a right to say what they want to say, right?
Yeah.
And the whole system, like I said, it's a bubble. The whole system supports itself. The system of this generation is ideologically based. I mean, I think Hollywood has always had idealistic people that want, like Gone with the Wind. At the time, they're like, we're going to try to make a movie that advances black people, right? And they couldn't imagine that, it's 80 years later, people are like, oh, it's a racist film, right? To them, this was revolutionary progressive film, that won a black woman an Oscar, right? And so Hollywood has always had people that have progressive political viewpoints, and they want to influence people. I think it's become an ideology that has now dominated storytelling itself in the time that I've been here, which is not natural or healthy, and is eventually taking away from the message that they want to give. So I don't know who's going to stop them. I think the only one that's going to stop them is going to be the viewers. I mean, people. The only reason we're having change in Star Wars is people didn't go see Solo. People created a big ruckus around this. I mean, so that's the change. Is eventually it hits your pocketbook, right?
Yep.
And and so Birds of Prey. I mean, that the Warner Brothers now knows that's not the direction to go. And if you see the new version, the new Suicide Squad movie that's being done, she's gone back to being this feminine, beautiful, sensual Harley Quinn in this movie, right? And so the market, your ticket buying, your purchases are the vote here.
Yep. Michael, no, I'm going down the list. Yours is a few more away, but I haven't missed it. Just to let you know, I haven't missed it. Where are we at? Picard Sucks says, as Americans, we're supposed to be able to say what we want. The censorship and cancel culture is an attack on our American democracy and freedoms. 100%. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, like today I was
America. I mean, there's no other country with a First Amendment. I mean, this country was founded by people that put that there, right? There's no First Amendment in Britain. Britain has blasphemy laws on the books right today. Yeah. So there's no first. We lose this, we got nothing, man. This whole country, the experiment's done.
I mean, just like today, there was a Oklahoma State football player, said he was done with the program because Mike Gundy, the head coach, was wearing an OAN shirt, like a right wing, news. Yeah, he's like, I'm done. And it's just like, what? It's unbelievable. Biggles Met says, cancel Jeremy. I like this guy. Keep bringing him. Again, as long as he doesn't, as long as the pandemic's going in Hollywood.
Can you bring some hot girls onto this as well? I'm tired of talking to this one pasty white dude. I've been trying to get out of the Babe Dumb Menace where all these hot chicks are there like Mary Mayhem. I'm like, and Abu Nas is the only dude that gets in there, right? Because he's like the Hefner of all this, right?
Drunk 3PO is the key. Drunk 3PO is the key to all that. So Drunk 3PO is the key. I don't know where he's at right now, but so
follow me on Twitter, Drunk 3PO. Come on, have the courage to do it.
Oh man, so Drunk 3PO is the key to all the ladies. He holds all the power, the most handsome man on the internet. The Fezman 93. Hey Jeremy, they fire Hartley Sawyer from The Flash, but keep Ezra Miller with footage shown that he may have attacked a fan and he has no statement. He's still allowed to be the Flash. Absolutely. That is some bullshit. Like, I didn't even think about that. That is some
I didn't think about it too, but it's obvious. I mean, duh.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. Because Ezra Miller follows, the narrative of what they, because he does the whole pronouns and bio and all that crap. I didn't think about that. Go ahead.
Well, I can speak up from the point of view of writers and producers who some of you may not know, but a major producer who worked on the Law and Order franchise, I believe he was the showrunner of SVU. Got some hot girls coming on my. Yeah, thank you, Drunk CPO. I noticed I'm not on that channel, right? You got the hot girls. Thank you for making it very clear that you got hot girls and I don't have that. Whatever. Fine. Let's come back to this. But Yeah,
Tugs and you
I follow Tugs. I've enjoyed her, and so yes, I will get this guy. Bring on Tugs. That's another conversation. But there was a gentleman who was I believe he was the showrunner of Law and Order Special Victims Unit, but he's a very prominent member of the Dick Wolf Law and Order team. And when all these riots started happening, he posted a picture on Twitter, a photo of himself standing in front of his house with a gun. He's a guns rights guy. He owns guns. I know a few screenwriters who own guns. He just won't admit it. And he made the mistake of posting a picture of himself protecting his house, and simply said, if anyone comes to my house, they know what they're going to face, right? This is when the riots are happening. And there's riots. I'm in Santa Monica. The riots were down the street. I mean, I live by the Promenade, which is this big open-air shopping area, and that's all boarded up now because it was rioted, and some of the stores I go to were looted, right? That's down the street from me. That's a 5-minute walk from me. And so he's out there, and he was fired from Law and Order. And again, on that chat, that Discord chat that I'm with other screenwriters, everyone was just saying, man, this guy, I can't believe he's put this gun out there. He's a fascist. He's this, he's that. And I simply said, you know what, guys? You all know my views. I'm just not even going to argue with any of you, right? This guy lost his job for saying he's going to protect his home. You interpreted that to mean I'm going to kill black people if they come to my house. You interpreted it to mean that, right? He's saying looters come, they're going to get what they get. Guess what? All you dudes who have private security are going to take out any looter that comes to your house. Right?
Yep.
So let's get serious here, okay? And that guy's lost his career. Major producer in Hollywood, Law and Order guy, fired, lost his career all within a few days. All because of his hypocrisy, and it breaks my heart.
It is. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's another topic I want to bring up if we get time to get to it, but it's about what happened with Robert Meyer Burnett. I don't know if you saw what happened with him on Twitter.
Yeah, I did. Actually, it was a similar kind of situation where, I mean, we all saw that horrible. At least some of us saw that horrible video of that poor gentleman that was security guard, the 77-year-old man who was shot trying to stop looters, and he was shot over a TV set, right? And so he was expressing his outrage over that, and he was canceled.
Yeah.
What do you talk about? This is a 7-year-old dude who got killed just trying to stop a looter. I mean, come on, man. He has a right to express his anger about that.
And it was pathetic how Christian Harloff, allowed the mob and people on his team to actually create that mob, and then he just, bent the knee to it. And it's just like, it was absolutely pathetic. I have no. Look, I'm a big fan of Christian Harloff, and I respect him on a. He has a ton of Star Wars knowledge, and I appreciate that. But that made me lose a lot of respect for him right there. I mean, that showed me that he is not a true leader. Again, I said it publicly, and I don't have a problem saying there's not a person on my team that will force me to make a decision with someone else on my team over social media outrage. Absolutely not going to happen. If somebody comes to me, my team, and say, "Oh, so and so said something that I don't agree with," I don't give a fuck.
And from an economic perspective, this kind of I'm going to give in to the woke mob isn't going to bring Harloff more subscribers. Those people aren't going to support you.
Nope.
Once they burn your house down, they're off burning somebody else's house down.
Yep. 100%. It's just so fucking accurate. And yeah, David Dorn, not reported enough. R.I.P. David Dorn. It was not reported enough.
I should have said his name. Thank you.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. All right, Joe Brody says, any tips on how to get into the industry, Cameron?
Well, I mean, I can only speak from what I do, which is I'm primarily a screenwriter. I've directed some short films. I'm working to become a feature director. That's a process. First, I got to stabilize my screenwriting career, right? Especially with my loud mouth getting on Geeks and Gamers saying this kind of stuff doesn't help. but look, I mean, the pivotal thing is this: if you want to be a screenwriter, I have a very specific thing. Anyone who wants to be a screenwriter, and there's quite a few people in this chat that probably do, or at least have a dream of it. Just remember, number one, it can be done because here's a Pakistani dude from Brooklyn with no contacts who is now a professional screenwriter and has actually worked on award-winning shows, right? And still in the business. It can be done. So don't think, I've had people say it's a dream. I can't. Dude, I'm doing it, right? I got no contacts. I made this happen. There's a great book everyone who wants to be a screenwriter should read. It's called The Screenwriter's Bible by David Trottier. You can get it off Amazon or Barnes & Noble or whatever. Hopefully you can get it from your local bookstore because I support local bookstores. And that book was what I read, 20 years ago to learn how to to write my first script, The Screenwriter's Bible. I then wrote my first script from that. I sold my first script to Paramount 20 years ago, got in the Writers Guild. Then I got into UCLA Film School after that achievement. And so I got my MFA in film after already having entered the Writers Guild and sold a script to Paramount. And so that book will teach you the craft of screenwriting. That's the thing. And then broadly, the only way to succeed in Hollywood, it's actually not even talent, although you should have talent for your self-respect and for your legacy. It's persistence. The only way to succeed is to plug away and plug away and plug away. I'm a living example of that. I should have been canceled 16, 17 years ago when people started figuring out what I was about. And I have been blocked in many ways on the journey. And yet here I am. I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it at a high level. So that's broadly what I can say.
Okay. All right. Well, that was a good answer, and very appreciated, Joe. I hope you appreciated that answer. It was a good question, good answer. Free Kodiak Black. They made us watch Ghostbusters 2016 in prison. Cruel and unusual punishment. They need to take every copy and fly it to the sun. Worst movie ever with a question mark. I've never seen it, so I can't speak.
I've never seen it. The previews revolted me. I mean, the ads revolted me. I was like, and I'm a huge fan of the original Ghostbusters, and I'm like, the hell is this thing, right?
Yeah.
And then just what I saw, the ads were revolting to me, and then the smug marketing and the smug, this was the predecessor before all the stuff with Terminator and everything else, where the directors were saying, you don't watch my thing, you're a racist or a sexist, whatever. I'm like, this is what set that in motion. I'm like,
yeah,
this sounds really dumb. Who would say something like this, right? So I didn't go see it, and then from what I've heard, I made the right choice.
Yeah. So I can't speak to it, but I've heard horrific things about it. I can't bring myself to watch that shit. So
but I'm excited for new Ghostbusters. Again, the previews looks like the feel of the Ghostbusters that I loved as a kid.
Yes,
and they're going back to a young generation. That sounds great. I want to see young kids try to figure out how to make Egon's stuff work. I'm really excited.
Absolutely, 100%. So Abu Nas again, I'll read his again because he says, sorry, I'm late getting to this, but I'll catch what I missed on the playback. Seeing you and my brother Cameron shooting the breeze and dropping the science is a pleasant sight, and I love it. God bless you both. Right back at you, Abu Nas. Black Phoenix with a $20 super sticker. Thank you, Black Phoenix. Huge supporter of everyone at Geeks and Gamers, and really do appreciate that. Dead Man in Black says, thanks again, Mr. Pasha. Just wondering, if you had the opportunity to run a big studio that values quality over agenda, would you, and what things would you try to do to improve the industry in that role? So
the thing is this, I mean, the answer, of course, if I could run a studio, sure, I would do it. The thing is this. The person at the head of any organization ultimately reflects the values of the organization. That's how they rose to power within it or were accepted by it, right? And so the challenge is the values that I'm expressing are largely not values that people in Hollywood are comfortable saying, right? And so even if they privately may agree with a lot of what I'm saying. And so it's hard for me to imagine being the head of a studio simply because I would have to answer to everybody else who has been raised within the ideological bubble. And the moment I started doing stuff that went against that, you'd have a revolt. You're seeing that in universities where you had more conservative university presidents come in and try challenging some of the academic structures that were in place, and everyone mobbed up against them, right, and pushed them out. And so I don't believe that you can change things at the top. I don't think that's possible. I think that's the mistake of a lot of people, politically and otherwise. They keep thinking that some figurehead at the top is going to change the system, and I think the system changes through stuff like this, which is grassroots, long-term change through developing relationships and exchange of ideas, which is what we're doing here. That's not sexy. It's not fast. It is the only thing that works. And so what I'm trying to do by being open about my beliefs is to try to allow more people in the industry who share my beliefs. Like I said, I posted in that board of screenwriters just a few days ago saying that I don't believe in this socialist mantra you're all saying. And then people are privately emailing, wow, you have the guts to say that out loud? By allowing myself to be a bit of a lightning rod, I'm allowing more and more people to speak up. Like now people can say a little more loudly that I don't like The Last Jedi because this loudmouth guy is out there saying it in public, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a bit of the role that I'm taking. I see we have some people recording. Chrissy?
So chat wants to know what's the book called that Cameron mentioned.
The screenwriter book, I assume, is what you're talking about. It's called The Screenwriters Bible by David Trottier, Trottier, and you can get that online. And it's the best book on learning the basics of screenwriting. Everything from storytelling structure to what an actual script looks like. Thank you, Lil Poet Boy. Thank you.
Okay, good stuff. So yeah, and I am getting to the super chat, so we will get through all of them. So don't worry, I will get to your super chats. And there's not a whole lot that we got to get caught up on, but I know that a few people are asking. So Justin Proper says, thank you for the sea of sevens for Cameron earlier. Now let's create a tsunami. Press 7, mofos, and just for fun, add 69 cents to the end for your of your super chats. So yeah, he had the chat press 7s for you earlier, and it was just like a wave of 7s. So if you
guys are making Jeremy rich. By the way, I'm not getting nothing out of this. Right? I got to figure out my socialist Hollywood angle to get a piece of it. Right?
I got to pay for the website. So let me see. Inspired Imaging LLC. Hey Cameron, have a passion project script that I've worked on for 10 years and can't get traction on it. Blacklist, etc. Any advice?
Well, I'm just trying to understand that question. Which
they say they have a passion project script that they have worked on for 10 years and they can't get any traction on it. So I guess they're
getting on the blacklist, right?
Yeah.
Look, I've got passion projects that I've been like my Taj Mahal is a 19-year-old script, right? And I'm still trying to get it made. And so, the issue again is persistence and trying to figure out the angle. It's one of the things that I'm learning, and they're actually at a very important moment right now, is that the traditional Hollywood structure is still very much in place. J.J. Abrams, those guys are still pretty much in charge, right? They're the guys making the call, the shots, right? But the pressures of the demographics and the economics of what's happening in society is now causing the traditional power structure of Hollywood to start cracking. What the conflict side of Lucasfilm reflects that, right? And people like Kathleen Kennedy are trying to retain power. It's reflective of a broader thing that's happening in Hollywood where they're beginning to realize they're not making money the way they're doing things. And they're resentfully and slowly beginning to be open to new ways of doing things. So in the last several years, I've had to shift my own personal strategy to get my projects made in a way that I didn't expect. I have had projects, and I'm going to do a little bit of name dropping here to give you context, right? I have a project set amongst the Moors of Spain that I actually got to Ang Lee, the incredible director Ang Lee, right at the time that he was winning the Oscar for Life of Pi, which is one of my favorite films. He read it in one night and was back to us the next morning saying, I want to do it. And then his agents convinced him to leave our project and go do other stuff. And so, I've been, for a long time, been trying to get my stuff trying the traditional Hollywood path of these Oscar-level A-list people, right? Because you think that's the way the system works. You got to get an Ang Lee to back you, right? Especially on the big epic stuff that I want to do. In the last year, what started to happen is I'm now beginning to partner with people that are not yet at the Ang Lee level, right? But have the talent and the ambition to be that. And they are hungrier for my kind of material. They're not going to leave my project, and their agents aren't going to tell them to leave my project for something else because this is their big angle. So I don't know where you are, the person with the chat, in your journey, whether you have contacts in Hollywood. You seem to have tried stuff from what I can gather. But the pivotal thing is to try to find people that are as hungry to get to the next level as you are. And that might require pulling back the ego. And that's hard for me. You can probably tell I've got a big ego. And like I came here to hang out with Margot Robbie and hot actresses and win Oscars. And for me to say, you know what, I'm going to set aside the Ang Lee strategy and start working with people that aren't household names, but that can become household names working with me and we can develop something. That is the journey. I think the whole system is beginning slowly but surely to become more grassroots. That's the major change that's happening. As we're watching right now, like the celebrity illusion has been shattered in the last 2 months. These celebrities are boring. You see them at home on their dumb TikTok videos and they're doing Zoom stuff like this. And they're like, oh, these guys aren't, the myth of the celebrity has been shattered during lockdown. They're boring people, right? Yep. The iconography has now gone down. So this is our chance for those of us to start rising up and taking advantage of this flattening that's beginning to happen in Hollywood. So I don't know if that answers anything, but I hope it inspires something.
Nice. Well, that was very well said. Very well said. Okay. Alex Wilson says, I'm a current USC film student, producer emphasis. How can I help change the leftist corporate politics in the industry during my coming career? So it says, let me read one more time. So I'm a current USC film student, producer emphasis. How can I help change the leftist corporate politics in the industry during my coming career?
You can't, because the Hollywood will always be largely liberal leaning. Because most artists tend to be largely liberal leaning. There's a reason I call myself libertarian, and I think most people actually are without realizing it, is that I'm socially liberal. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you gay guys get married. You're trans. God bless you. If you found your path that makes you happy, you go do your thing. So I'm socially liberal, and I'm a conservative Muslim in my private life, right? I may not live my life the way you're living your life, but God bless you. Do what you got to do. I don't bother you, right? And I'm economically, don't mess with my money and let me make my own choices. I think most people have those two beliefs, right? And so people in Hollywood are open about the fact that they are socially liberal, and they lie about the fact that they're economically libertarian, right? They lie about that because they don't want to admit that they're conservative on economics, right? And so if your view is you're going to come in from USC and do this conservative revolution that's going to bring back traditional values within the Hollywood system, that's going to be hard, because most people don't share those values or want to promote them, right? Most people, I'm a religious guy. Most people in Hollywood that I've worked with, certainly writers, don't believe in God, and they think it's crazy that I would believe in these legendary mythical stories. They can't even imagine, and they think they're legendary mythical. I think they're real, whatever. And so you're not going to change that. What you can do is you have to find a way to tell the stories that you want to tell, and find the people that you think are going to be able to handle those stories and present them. It's going to, most of these, at least until recently, most of these studios had their faith division, which was the little embarrassed section that they had where they would do Christian movies, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if those are going to continue in the current environment, but let's say they do, right? One of my friends who's a very devout Christian in this town, and whenever I meet anyone in this town who believes in God, I'm like, really? And we become friends, right? And I'm like, what? You believe in God too? Wow. and so they're, what he has said, because and I think those of you who are Christian or watch Christian movies, the quality of films being made for the Christian market is really bad. I mean, Mel Gibson made a couple of incredible movies aimed at the Christian market, but that's not the quality. Most of them are sort of D-list actors, D-list writers, D-list storytelling, which to me as a religious person, I find offensive that you would make a bad movie and present it as the people of faith movie, right? And so the greatest thing you can do is do a masterful version of your story that elevates the genre, whether it's religious or just conservative in some other fashion. That's the only way you can have an impact on this. And look, Mel Gibson, for all of his personal pathologies, is an incredible filmmaker. And, I'm not Christian. And yet The Passion of the Christ is one of the most powerful movies I've ever seen. It's incredibly violent, but it's a movie that if I were Christian, I get it, man. I get why you make the movie, right? I get it. And so, but he's one guy trying to lift the caliber of that storytelling. I mean, a few openly conservative people like James Woods have been knocked out of the system, right? And James Woods is a brilliant actor. I don't agree with everything he says on politics. I don't disagree with everything he says on politics. In recent days, I've been finding I'm liking his tweets more and more, right? But Woods has been knocked out of the game, and because he was open about his support for Trump. And so, it's going to be hard if you think you're going to change the system. I have a little bit of protection because I'm the brown Muslim guy. If Jeremy was saying the stuff I'm saying, he'd be canceled.
Sad but true. Sad but true. That's it, though. That's Hollywood in a nutshell. Emperor Billy Ritchie says, Cameron, is there any hope for Hollywood, or are they too far gone? And should we look towards independent productions for original ideas and stories?
I mean, I think my previous answer addressed most of that. And so I'm just going to say that's what I think. There is hope, but the idea that you're going to change the beliefs of these people, it's not going to happen. All you can do is try to create high quality alternative methods.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. The DCV Titan Avatar was pretty much Dances with Wolves. That's another one that a lot of people point to. Captain Confidence Entertainment. Cameron needs to be a guest on Robservations with RMB. I can make that happen. I mean, I would love to see you talk with Robert Meyer Burnett. I think that would be a fantastic discussion. Pendulum Games and Hobbies Archive. If you and Cameron could go back in the past and say anything to attempt to dissuade George Lucas to reconsider selling his creation, what would you say? I personally don't think that there's anything you could say it to him personally. I mean, after the prequel hate and all of that stuff that he went through, I don't think you could. I mean, I think, again, maybe Cameron can speak to this differently than me, but I just think George Lucas was at a point in his life. I mean, maybe if anything, I would just say don't put Kathleen Kennedy in charge, but I don't think you could stop him from selling. I think that's where my stand.
I think he was burned out. I think he was heartbroken that so many people created drama around the prequels. The prequels didn't deserve drama. Like I said, I didn't love episode 1, although I loved parts of it. And I actually really loved episode 2 and 3. I really enjoyed those films. And I couldn't understand the drama that was being created around them because I thought they were Star Wars. And So his heart was broken, I think. But now I think his heart is even more broken, and he didn't. You can tell it in the interviews. He's shocked by what Kathleen Kennedy did with his baby. He's shocked, right? And now we're seeing him attempt to get back in the business. I have said this. I may be wrong, but I do believe it's not impossible that George Lucas will buy back Lucasfilm within the next year to 2 years. I don't think once Kennedy is out, I don't think it's impossible, because it happened with Power Rangers. Power Rangers was sold to Disney for as part of a $3 billion deal by Haim Saban. And then 10 years later, after Disney had screwed up that Power Rangers and dropped its value so badly, he bought it back for $100 million. That's a pretty good profit, and so he still owns Power Rangers, and they're back now. I don't think it's impossible that Lucas will buy back Star Wars. He sold it for $4 billion. I think at this point, the board, once Kathleen is out and once Iger is gone, I think the board would take an offer for $1 billion or $2 billion just to get it off their hands.
Man, that would be be mind blowing. And again, that's just a prediction you're making. That's not saying you have.
I don't have any internal knowledge. I do have people who know George Lucas personally and well, who have said to me that he hates The Last Jedi and he's horrified by what's happened.
Really?
I've had people, screenwriters that have worked with Lucasfilm, that have told me directly that
See, I didn't know. I never even thought to ask you that question. So can we? And of course, I'm not going to ask you any questions specifically about names, because I would never ask you to do that. But so now he hates The Last Jedi. Do you know anything else about where he stands on the other films? Like Solo and all of. Have you heard anything from anybody?
Okay. Well, I heard the most about The Last Jedi because you can see I'm vocal on it. And so when I started getting people to talk to me privately, so, someone who I'll not identify, who I know has very deep roots inside of Lucasfilm today and the George Lucas camp, as in personal relationships with Lucas himself, have said to me that Lucas has said privately that he feels The Last Jedi, to use the actual word, is soulless, that it lacks a soul. And that he was so shocked. He was open about his disappointment that they didn't go new ways with the Force Awakens. That he thought, and he said in interviews that I've watched on YouTube, where he said, I thought they recycled it, which was my critique. But by the time that Last Jedi had come out, he had already gotten into so much trouble with his white slavers comments and everything else. Mm-hmm. I'm sure in his multi-billion-dollar contract there is a non-disparagement clause. Do not bring down the value of this franchise that you've sold to us. So I'm sure lawyers called and said, George, you really don't want Disney calling up lawyers on this, man. They could claim that you brought down Last Jedi from $2 billion to $1.2 billion, and they could sue you for $800 million, right? You don't want to have this fight. And so, he probably wisely, said, okay, I'm not going to publicly criticize it anymore. And then he said these carefully worded things like it's a beautifully made movie.
Yeah, and that is so accurate, because even in interviews, he even talked about, he's like, last time, got myself in trouble, so I'm just gonna, so that is fascinating.
I don't have the slightest bit of doubt from the source that I got it from, who I know knows Lucas. I know that he knows Lucas, right? I'm going to say this, and I've never revealed this publicly. I have a friend who's worked on, who's very close to Jon Favreau and has worked on several of his movies. And this is what he said to me, and I don't know Jon Favreau. He said to me, Jon Favreau hates The Last Jedi.
Whoa.
Again, that's telephone. Favreau did not say this to me. And I love Jon Favreau. I hope I've not burned my chance to work with him in the future. I had already with all my big mouth. But he said to me recently, we had lunch before all the lockdowns happened, and he said to me that, no, John has told him that what he claims, again, this is coming from a friend who I know has worked on Favreau's productions in his inner circle, multiple productions. And he said to me that Favreau told him that once he saw The Last Jedi, he realized Star Wars was out of control, and that he actively lobbied to get involved in it because he's a fan and he wanted to save the franchise. That he wasn't just that Lucasfilm went out to him, that he started like, guys, I can help with this. You guys are on the wrong track. That's what he says to me. I believe it.
Honestly, if you look at Favreau's history with Star Wars and how passionate he's been, because regardless of how you feel about like The Lion King and Jungle Book and all of that, those are clear. Like, look, Jon Favreau, Cameron can confirm what I'm about to say. And this is my assumption. In Hollywood, you know what? If you want to play the game, you got to play the game.
He's the master of it.
Right. So
knows how to play it.
Yeah. So when they come to him with the Jungle Book, which I did not like at all, and I fucking hated the Lion King remake. But when they come to him and they're like, John,
technology with it. That's all he did. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like, John, here's what we need you to do. We need you to realize this vision. And he played ball. And that got him a lot more. Of course, he did think with Iron Man. He started the MCU. And then Iron Man 2, I feel like there was a lot of studio involvement with Iron Man 2 because of the bigger picture with the Avengers. And he probably felt a little pushed out at that point. But he played ball with these remakes. And I think that this guy is passionate about Star Wars. I don't think anybody can question Jon Favreau's passion for Star Wars. And we've seen, him together with Dave Filoni and George Lucas on the set. So this doesn't surprise me at all. That's absolutely fascinating, though.
And also, don't be surprised if in this current environment, someone asks Jon Favreau to make a political comment, blah, 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 and he says exactly what the SJWs want to hear because he's got to protect himself. So I don't want to hear this crap. Favreau said this. He's an SJW. What else is he going to say, man, in this environment? What's he going to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That is some good information right there. But I like Jon Favreau and I like The Mandalorian. I didn't think it was perfect or great. It had some slow moments, but overall I enjoyed The Mandalorian.
It's getting back on track. It's trying to get back on track on something that was derailed.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, that was fascinating. I was not expecting that, but you kind of blew my mind there a little bit. I think you blew the chat's mind too. I'm
not going to get a call from Jon Favreau's agents. Hey, why are you talking about our clients? Right now, nobody gives a crap about me, so I'm not going to get that call.
Can we get ones in the chat for Cameron just to show he's the best? Because that was some good information right there. We need to let Bounding into Comics know because I'm sure they're going to pick that story up. John,
they can pick it up. But again, this is a friend who works with him,
right?
And I can't say what's the story. Favreau didn't tell it to me, so I don't know how much of a story that is.
Right. So John, when you guys cover it, because I know people are going to be tagging you in it, just let you know he's not. He's just saying that this is coming from a source, but
from a mutual friend. And I'm mad. Maybe that guy's exaggerating what he told me. Maybe he's positioning it for who knows. I'm just presenting what was presented by somebody between us.
Put the context behind it. We'll make sure we have all of that. Okay, here's Michael Chavez. Hey, Jeremy, have you ever heard of RWBY FAP podcast? No, I have not. Never heard of that one.
I'm familiar with them.
Okay. You are?
I'm not familiar with them. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I've never heard of that, Michael. So I apologize if that's something I don't know. Never heard of that one though. Nal White says, I'm a Christian and would love to see Crusades from Saladin's side and Mongol invasion of Middle East and destruction of Baghdad. 1 million dead needs movie.
Okay, so I'm going to answer both that. I'm going to answer second one first. I'm actually working on a project about the Mongol invasion, and there's actually we Muslims had a lot of these slave girls that became queens. So there's this Turkish slave girl who became the first queen, the queen of Egypt, who defeated the Mongol invasion. So I'm working on a project on her. But to answer the first one about Saladin, I'm going to step off the screen for a second. I want to show you something.
Okay. All right, well, let me answer. So you're going to step off screen. So real quick, back on that previous chat really quick then. I don't watch Rooster Teeth. Rooster Teeth had some problems with me a while back last year. A couple of their people kept shitting all over Geeks and Gamers. So I don't know anything about I don't watch Rooster Teeth, so I know nothing about them. Go ahead, Cameron.
Okay, so my Crusade script that I wrote from Saladin's point of view, the Third Crusade, I actually novelized it. It's one of my 2 novels with Simon Schuster, so I'm just going to show it. So if anyone wants to buy it, you can get it. Shadow of the Swords is my novel. And you can get it through Amazon, or you can, if you go to my website, CameronPasha.com, there's a link right there. And it's a pretty good novel. I've got some, I got endorsed by Stephen Pressfield, who's one of the great historical novelists. He wrote, The Gates of Fire, which is essentially a story of the 300s. And so, it's a great story I'm very proud of. It's told from the Muslim and the Jewish point of view. And Richard the Lionheart is a major player, but you get to see how the people in the Middle East perceived the Crusades when it happened. So I hope some of you will buy the book. I'm proud of it.
And mods, if you guys can get links to that right there, feel free to drop those all throughout the rest of the live stream so we can get some traction over there. So
yeah, Jeremy's getting all these chats. I got to get a couple of bucks out of this.
Oh, well, you still have the chance of hanging out with Margot Robbie, so you know.
God willing, yeah, God willing. It's not over yet.
Jake, the movie geek, says there's rumors of a civil war happening. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, look, we'll see what happens. You know, it's
probably it doesn't, but I'm afraid it will.
Yeah, I think unfortunately we're not far from it. Quarter Black Garrett put a great tweet out the other day of that guy dancing in front of cops, and he's like, "Civil War II is going to be lit." So I have no idea. You know,
I would love to be wrong about this because, like I said, this country falls apart. That ain't in my interest, right? And so, you know, I love this country. I want it to survive, and I want it to be a better place. So I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. The DCV Titan, respect Whammon. Can we not? Can we respect them like a pimp named Slickback? The Fixer One, new Doctor Who was just 100% woke trash. That is a universal, feedback from everybody that's seen it. I mean, the fan feedback has just been unbelievable. I mean, there's nobody defending Doctor Who. Nobody. Now, I haven't seen it, but that's what I've heard. Nick B says, does your guest think that the new characters should be invented for their race, by their race, instead of just rehashing old characters already invented? Let me see.
I'm trying to understand that. Is the new characters, so should we create new African-American characters in Star Wars or Asian characters just because they are of that ethnicity? Is that the question? I think that's what the question is.
Yeah, so does your guest think that new characters should be invented for their race, by their race, instead of
I see. So only black people can create black characters.
Right, yeah. I think that's what he's saying.
I think that's what he's saying. That's madness because, that would mean George Lucas couldn't create Lando, right? I mean, this is insane. I mean, that discourse that you cannot write about something that you're not. I'm a Pakistani dude from Brooklyn. There ain't that many stories a Pakistani dude can tell about Pakistani dudes from Brooklyn, okay? They're just not. And nor would anyone watch them. I wouldn't watch them. And so, my novels, I'm telling the story of from a Kurdish warrior, Saladin, a Jewish woman from, medieval Palestine, and a Christian king from England. And I'm doing what I think is an authentic presentation of three different points of view in that book, right? And that's just good storytelling, is to be able to create characters that are not who you are. Do you need to research them? Yes. Will you make mistakes if you don't have some connection to the history of them? Quite possibly. And you need to be able to address those mistakes when someone points them out. But the idea you cannot create characters unless you're the ethnicity of that character is insane. And the idea that you can't write a gay character if you're not gay, or if you're a gay writer, you can't write a straight character, that's madness.
I agree. Someone just said, Geeks and Gamers, do you have a podcast? Yes, we have a gaming podcast that we have over on Gaming with Geeks. If you want to find the feed, and we will be creating a podcast network. That's over on geeksandgamers.com. There's a podcast tab on the website. Go over there, click it, and you will be able to find our gaming podcast. More podcasts will be added in the future. So
we have another chat about I don't know. I'll let you have the fullness of the chats.
Yeah. And he was let's see. Digital Demonic Davros says, "Oh, you're offended. So effing what? Move along." And then Nick B again said, "If mainstream media didn't exist, we would be in love with another. Mainstream media narratives keep us separated. Turn off your TV."
Well, I mean, I think they certainly facilitate division, but I think human nature has always been divided. We're tribalist by nature. The spiritual challenge of being a human being is to transcend our family and tribal connections and try to learn about people that are different from us. It's not easy. We're not actually programmed on an evolutionary level. We're programmed to be to be similar to people like ourselves and to be emotionally drawn to them. And then you have to grow past it. That's part of being a human, right?
Right.
And I think television is certainly facilitating the division, but I don't think, look at the history of the Crusades and the wars, whatever. People have always been divided. That's our spiritual challenge to transcend it.
Right. And Mods, thank you for dropping links to Cameron's Amazon and his Twitter account. And is there anything else that they can plug for you, Cameron, in the chat?
Look, if anyone buys my book, and the greatest comment that I've received from Christian readers of my novel in the Crusades is that they assumed that as a Muslim guy writing a story of a Muslim hero, that I would make a negative portrayal of Christians. And I certainly show some of the Crusaders were pretty bad guys. I mean, they weren't heroic. And by the standards of their own time, they weren't heroic. They were killing women and children. And Saladin wasn't doing that. But I go out of my way to portray Christian characters who are facing the reality of the war and going, yeah, that's not what Christianity is. You're killing that little child over there. I don't want to be involved with that, right? That's not Christ for me. And so the greatest response I've gotten from Christian readers is like, thank you for differentiating the Christian faith from the actions of some of these people, right, in this terrible war. And that was important to me.
Good stuff. Sanctuary of Geeks says, has Pasha ever worked with actor Kevin Sorbo? He is blacklisted from Hollywood for his faith in politics. Ridiculous. Yeah, Kevin Sorbo. I like Kevin Sorbo. Have you ever?
I've not worked with him. I know people that worked with him on the show Andromeda. He was on that show, right? I believe. And yeah, I mean, he's blacklisted. He's just like James Woods. He's out on the fringes. You know, he's like Dean Cain. All those guys that the system doesn't really want to support. I mean, they're all getting work on smaller stuff, but they're just not getting. And James Woods is the biggest of them. I mean, this is an Oscar caliber actor that can't get work right now. And so, that's the town, right? And it is what it is. And God bless them. I'm just going to keep trying to create opportunities. And I will never hire someone or not hire someone based on their politics or their religious beliefs. Are they the right? Do they have the talent, and are they going to be easy to work with? Because you can have the talent and be a jerk, and I don't need you around, right? And so that's it. That's all I care about.
And then we'll get to there is a comment here. I do want to add, like, what's wrong with making a black Superman? Nothing, as long as you're okay with the White Panther. Like, can we make Black Panther white? I mean, the point is why you create new characters, and that's in my opinion, and Cameron might have a different opinion, but in my opinion, that's not doing anything to help your diversity push. That's only showing that you don't have the confidence to create that new character to, let them build their own mythology. What do you think?
I fully agree with that. Look, as a minority, my view is the only way to advance. I'm interested in seeing people that are, like I said, the only real Muslim character out there is Ms. Marvel. Not everyone likes her, right? And so I would love to see them, but they've got to come out. The only way to do it for the community is they've got to come out authentically, be characters that people want to see and have good stories. And the idea of a black Superman is you're saying that no one is going to watch, a black superhero unless he's glommed onto a traditionally white character. And that's, more again, from Malcolm X, that's just demeaning, disgraceful, cheapening of the black experience, and the market for the black experience that's very large, as Black Panther showed. So yeah, I think Jeremy and I are on the same page.
Mm-hmm. Jedi Bunny says, excellent stream and phenomenal talking points. Thanks for giving Cameron another platform to speak on. Jeremy, we all stand together in this. Hail to everyone in the chat. Great seeing you all. Good to see you here, Kelly. Really, Kelly is she's one of my favorite people in the whole world. She's such a great human being. So I'm happy to see you back in the chat, Kelly. So Joshua Sam says, I'm currently a center-right UCLA undergrad, and it's tough to have an opinion on campus that's different than the left-wing agenda, which is ridiculous. So, and Joshua Sam is a huge supporter of us. So yeah, currently a center-right UCLA undergrad, and it's tough to have an opinion on campus that's different than the left-wing agenda, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it's going to get worse, man, in the next couple of years, until this all burns out, and it will burn out, because what's going to happen is all these people are just going to feed on each other. They're going to cancel each other, which is already beginning. And so you just have to sit back and let the woke people, just turn the circle of firing squad, and you just stay out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Shane Everett. I thought once these woke and preachy films flopped, Hollywood would course correct, but apparently it's not going to stop anytime soon.
They were course correcting until the recent events, and this is gonna resurrect that stuff.
That's what I felt was going to happen too. But I think this kind of threw everything into a frenzy. So Noah Beckham says, "Hey, loving the content. I love Cameron's. I don't know how to say this word. Is Scheherazade?
Scheherazade.
Scheherazade. Is that it? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that's like the narrative, the woman that narrated the Arabian Nights. I'm doing a show on her. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Idea. The Scheherazade idea, and I am looking forward to the project succeeding. How can we support you and the project? Great question, by the way. So what can the audience do? Because the audience is loving you. What can they do? Is there anything the individuals can do to support you or your projects? Is there I mean, outside of like, obviously we plugged your book and, you know, follow you on Twitter, is there anything else that they can do to help? Or
Well, all of those things are great. And in all reality, you know, people actually reading my material, like reading, I got a couple of books, reading them and letting other people know this guy's a good writer, getting my name out there, because the system has gone out of its way to try to just ignore me. I actually, for a while, when that show Sleeper Cell was on the air and was getting Golden Globe nominations and Emmys and all that stuff, the LA Times did a full page profile on me as the upcoming Muslim writer, which I have framed in my room over there. And, you know, I started getting a lot of attention, and then I talked about on the last show that we did that after Obama was elected, that just ended, right? Then it went from all this media attention. I had like New York Times articles about me, right? So you do a Google, you'll find them, and then all of it just stopped. And I went from being this up and coming writer to watch to everyone just ignoring me. And literally shows like Homeland and all these other shows were happening, and no one wanted me on their staff. They're just like, all right, we're done. We don't need this guy anymore. We've got Obama. And so I went from having a little bit of prominence in Hollywood just being another guy, right? And which also gives me now the freedom to talk to Jeremy without much fear. So you know, if you buy my books, tell people about my stuff, that helps me because that allows me to have a life outside of what the system wants for me. You know, when God willing, when I'm ready in a position to announce one of these shows in the trades, I hope that you will then ask, you know, you'll tune into them and then you'll promote them at that time. And so follow me on Twitter and you'll know when those things are happening. And so you can, you know, and then I hope because there will be inevitably, you know, one of my greatest things that I'm aware of is Jeremy, you follow my Twitter. I see a lot of stuff that probably would get me in trouble if anyone was paying attention. Right. Right now, they're not paying attention. And so when God willing, I have one of these shows announced and it's about to go, someone is likely to go look through my Twitter history and find something they don't like. And so at that moment, I'll need your support because then, you know, the cancel culture, I'm a prime target for cancel culture and it will be my own fault because I have a big mouth, right? But that's when I'll need your support to say, no, this guy's a good guy. You know, he's got a good character. And that's ultimately what I hope we all come to. We can share different political beliefs. We can share different religious beliefs. It's all cool. I just judge people by their character. I got people of my political and religious beliefs who are bad people. I don't want to be around them, man. It's just about character.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I hope everybody does go and supports Cameron and his future projects. You know, he's taking a risk, you know, to speak his mind on this platform with this many viewers that we get. And, you know, I know some of the things that, you know, we've talked about are going to be picked up and discussed. So, you know, ultimately, you know, he needs support. So that is the biggest thing. We want people that are connected to the industry to not be the robot and to not have the group think. And now we have someone here that is not, you know, guilty of that. So this is the type of person, you know, that we don't want. We don't want nonsense in the entertainment industry. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. You know, just keep politics out of the creative process. That's it. That's all I care about. Shane Everett. I thought once these woke and preachy films. Oh, I got that one. Noah Beckham got that one. Johnny the Whiz Kid. Even so, our words are often considered hateful and racist. Yet these elitists get away with calling out white people with made up BS. Why they get a pass? Yeah, I mean it's because of the culture that's been created. Is why they get a pass.
It's a culture. You know, it's the Hollywood white guilt thing that they do, right? You know, it's a fake white guilt because none of them actually have any guilt for anything, and they have reasons to really be guilty in life, but they have no guilt for those things either.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's just the culture they create. It's a virtue signaling phenomenon that's coming from the industry. You know, and it's a way to deflect criticism is to make yourself look like you've surrendered to these forces and you're bowing, literally kneeling nowadays, and you know, and that's it. And Keaton Smith, I see that you're going to support my book. I would love it. I hope you actually read it and enjoy it and tell other people about it. That's the way we artists, everyone who, and I'm sure there's a lot of artists on this chat, you know, artists want our art to be seen and appreciated, and I hope you can do that.
Cameron should start his own production company of like-minded people. I know it's far easier said than done. Just saying, project artistry integrity. Yep. Protect artistic integrity. Absolutely.
Well, and I have a network of friends who, like I said, they'll privately say things that they're not willing to say publicly. But I know that, number one, I know their moral character. And number two, I know that they share a similar thing, that if they could freely do some of this storytelling that they're restricted by, that they would do so. And they're people that I will then hire for my shows and projects because I know that we at least are willing to address these things together.
Absolutely. Alex Lusher says, question for Cameron. When I was younger, I always wanted to make films. I'm not a good writer, but do you have any tips? Also, how do you get your stories out there to people?
Okay. Well, if you walked back earlier, I did discuss the Screenwriters Bible, which will teach you about how that. Another book that I think every writer who wants to learn storytelling should read is the Writer's Journey by Christopher Vogler, Vogler. It's a book looking at the archetypal storytelling. Uses a lot of Star Wars references actually to show how stories have historically been told. It was actually Aristotle that established the modern story structure. Aristotle, in his book On Poetics, he established a 3-act structure and the plot twist. I mean, that goes back to Aristotle. So going back and reading some of these classic books, and you can actually read Aristotle's On Poetics. You can get it. It's a good book. That will teach you storytelling structure. And so you should do that. And then the broader question of how to get into Hollywood, I think you go back, watch the early part of the stream where I give some of that advice.
Okay, good stuff. And then I know I don't want to keep Cameron too much longer, but let's see. So OG Star Wars says, enjoying the great combo. Thank you, OG Star Wars. And Cameron's a big fan of yours. I saw you talking.
Lots of respect to OG Star Wars.
Yeah. Keller Ranch, new member of the channel. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Angel Wren 89 says, Jeremy, can I get a shout out for Coolman229? He made a video about a certain misbehaving dog game developer and their copy striking ways. He gave you a shout out in this video. Also, Ryan Kennel too. Well, thank you, Coolman229. I will be sure to check out that video. If someone has access to that, drop that in the YouTube section of our forums over on geeksandgamers.com, and I'll be able to go check that out. I would love to see that video. So always happy when people are bringing highlight to that. But Clint Matthews says, does hating Ray make me a racist? And he spelled racist with R-E-Y. Justin,
well, you're already a better writer of that joke than the Yo Mama joke in The Last Jedi. So God bless you.
Justin Proper said, I've had mostly good celeb interactions. I've heard many are disingenuous and boring. Overall, what's your experience with both creatively and in passing? So with celebs being, meeting them, what's your experience in creatively and just in passing?
Well, I mean, celebrity is a poisonous thing for human psychology, right? So if you're asking about creative people, I've had very good interactions with good actors and writers and directors. When people become famous, it can affect them. And what it does is this, and I've said this because I very briefly had a moment of fame back, when Supercell was happening, right? It builds up your ego. It happened to me too. And some of the worst parts of your personality can start coming out, right? Because you suddenly start thinking that you're invincible because all these people are kissing your butt. And so a lot of celebrities who have been long periods of celebrity can be somewhat challenging when you meet them, in real life. You're like, oh, you're not like the person I watch on the movie screen. You're just not a likable person, right? Because there's that damage that comes through fame. And so, but it is what it is. You just have to keep looking for good people and trying to work with them.
Good advice. Very good advice. Canceled Venom says, I love Jeremy's beard, wherever it is. Okay. Cool. Wherever it is. Let's see.
We have cancel Jeremy. We need to have Muslim Jeremy. We need to have Imam Jeremy. We just want to create that one.
Hey, we do have Nigerian Prince Jeremy, so we do have that one.
Get closer.
Nigerian Prince Jeremy posted in the Geeks and Gamers forums when he first made an account. He goes, because we have like an area in the forums like for website issues and problems, and he posted. He says, trying to sign into everyone else's account, but it says the password is incorrect. Need help. And I'm like, that is so good. Nigerian Prince Jeremy trying to hack everybody's account.
Well, he's on point, man. He's on point.
I Did You Sing says, one of the better genre shows on TV right now, in my opinion, is Project Blue Book on history. Have any of you watched it? Quite good. Project Blue Book, have you seen that?
I love that show. I watched it 2 seasons. I love that show. I actually asked my agents to try to get me on to season 3 of that show, and unfortunately the show just got canceled. It's not coming back for season 3. And it's basically it's set in the 50s and the 60s. And it's about the Project Blue Book. That was the first major UFO investigation, and the people around it. Alan Hynek, who was this professor who didn't believe in UFOs, and after investigating them for 20 years, became convinced they're real, right? And so you watch his journey and his adventures, and it was a great show. And I'm real glad it's not there.
Definitely.
Christanova.
The geeksandgamers.com. And Krista gave you a shout out earlier when you popped up with your beep. Winter Wind 89. In high school, I had to do a history symposium to graduate, and I chose The Crusades of the Muslim Perspective. Very interesting history. Definitely going to buy that book. So that is awesome. That's good stuff right there. All right. And Private Halo 117, do you do you ever think we'll see a movie about the Battle of Castile Itter or a Warhammer 40K movie? I don't know anything about Warhammer 40K. I was on with Az, and I know Az is big into Warhammer 40K. So what is this Castiel Itter?
I'm not familiar with that. I mean, unless you're talking about one of the, I don't know if this is a video game they're referring to, or they're talking about one of the battles in the Moorish Spain.
Not sure on that. Now, Warhammer 40K apparently is massively successful. It's also a lot of money to stay invested in it, apparently. But Az would be better suited for that question on that specific topic. So I apologize, Private Halo, but if you send another comment to clarify anything else, I without a super chat, I'll see if one of my mods can highlight it, because I hate that you spent the $5 and I don't really have a good answer for you. So I apologize. Keller Ranch with the new membership. Justin Proper, I don't want a black 007 any more than a white Lando. I mean, I guess there's always exceptions. Like, I do think Idris Elba would be a fantastic 007. I just do. I think that's just a perfect fit. You know what I mean?
He's a superb actor. But I would go back to the thing is, we'll see how this new James Bond movie plays out. They did this bad woke marketing where they have the African American woman or the African British woman.
That's what they were talking about right here.
Yeah, she's the new 007. So look, we'll see how the story plays out. My instinct is that at the end of the movie, because he is 007, he's retired in the movie, and they're going to bring him back as 007. Either she's going to get killed, or that she's going to get reassigned to some other mission or some other thing, and he's going to get the 007 back. So that's a demotion. So either way, those kinds of games lead you down this path where you disrespect the African, the black actor in this case, right? So instead of doing that, let's create 008, give her an incredible role in this 007 movie, and then spin her off, because I'll follow that.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's more clarification. It was a battle during the World War II where the German army and the U.S. Army defended French POWs from the S. Okay, my bad. Yeah, I'm not a history buff, so that's why that one flew right over my head. So, I mean, again, if you look some of the more current things, like we had what was that war movie that just released last year to raving reviews?
It was the one in World War I where it's all one camera, right? It was
yeah. Oh my God!
We've been doing this for 2.5 hours. I'm trying to. It was World War I where they just. It was great. It was a great movie.
The chat's fixing to tell us 1917. Yeah, fantastic.
I'm a big World War I fan, and actually, I want to say 1917 did something that some people misunderstood. They're like, oh, they're trying to be woke because they showed an Indian Sikh soldier there were Indian Sikhs in the British Army in World War I, and because it was a British colony, India was, and there was a very heroic regiment of these Indian soldiers during World War I. Just showing that guy there was a matter of history, and the people got upset at that. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? These people were there. The fact that you don't want them on screen says something. They didn't go out of their way to say, well, let's tell the story of the Indian soldier and put it on.
Exactly.
He was just there, and because it was normal that there would be an Indian Sikh soldier in that regiment.
And I very much enjoyed 1917. Very much enjoyed it. So, I mean, there's a template there. So we could see some more. Let me see. I lost my space. Benjamin Bowen says, dude, you are literally my favorite YouTuber right now. LOL. Cameron is pretty dope as well. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's always blows my mind when anybody thinks of me as within their favorite YouTubers. That's still insane. So crazy. But Michael Chavez says, what do you think of a physically deformed character wearing a mask but becomes the father that his wait, hang on. I think you said father because you said FATHE. So what do you think of a physically deformed character wearing a mask but becomes the father that his little sister needs him to be?
I don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm not sure if that's comedic post or I don't actually understand the flow of that.
I don't. Yeah, I don't understand the what you're asking. I apologize, Michael. So this is copy. Okay, I'm copying it and I'm putting it in the chat. That's how it's typed to me. So that's how it was typed to me. So I don't understand.
I can't answer that because I don't understand it.
Yeah, so I don't understand that. So I apologize. I just wanted to clarify to everybody that I don't didn't understand it. So Keller Ranch says, Cameron Pasha, I'm a 15-year-old military Christian right-wing cattle rancher, NRA member, and I think you rock, dude. Don't always agree with you, but love you and respect you. Welcome at my place anytime. That is awesome.
Well, that's what America should be about. I mean, that's why I love being here. I love being an American citizen. I mean, I've traveled the world. I've spent actually a lot of time in Britain. I studied in Britain in college. I studied in Scotland and at the University of Edinburgh for a while. And, you know, the racism towards my ethnicity is much greater in Britain than it is here, right? And the racism, the bigotry towards my religion is much greater in Britain there. And France, the same thing. There's nothing better than this country. For all of us burning it down, I've been all over the world. It ain't getting better than this, guys. This is it. Let's improve this place. Because there's no place better than this.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Larry with $1.49 super sticker. James Tyler, what are your thoughts on episode 9? I like it. I also think there was no way JJ or anyone else could make a universally received film after TLJ. I hated The Rise of Skywalker. I hated it nearly as bad as The Last Jedi. I look, people don't like it. That's fine. The people that subscribe to the channel do not like that I am a J.J. Abrams fan. I am a J.J. Abrams fan. I can't help that I like his movies. I like Mission Impossible 3. You know, I like the Mission Impossible films that Bad Robot has produced. I like Super 8. I like Lost. I like just almost all of his TV shows. I like Star Trek 09. I'm not a Star Trek fan, so I'm clearly not the target demo, at least. But you know, obviously I like The Force Awakens, but I just thought that The Rise of Skywalker was a piece of shit. It was a disaster. It was a bunch of pieces that were just put together. But I do agree that I don't think there's any way that he could have made a universally well-received film after The Last Jedi. I just think Colin Trevorrow's film would have been much better. You know,
let me answer that because I was able to get a copy of Duel of the Fates. A friend of mine was able to get me a copy in the industry, and I read it, and it's a great script. It would have worked. The amazing thing about the script is it would have satisfied the divided fandoms. If you liked The Last Jedi, there was enough in there to satisfy you. If you didn't like The Last Jedi, there was natural ways to get it back to the storytelling that we did like. And the most amazing thing about Duel of the Fates, Rose Tico is the best character in the script. She blows you away. She's this kick-ass spy that's infiltrated the First Order and helps bring it down and puts her life in line, gets tortured. And you're like, every time we go through, I'm like, I gotta go back to Rose Tico. When's she coming up again? When's the scene? I mean, that's the genius. You're like, Rose Tico, yeah. I mean, come on. And that's the shame of it is look what happened to poor Kelly Marie Tran. She was, because of everything that happened, because of the garbage that was done to her character in Last Jedi, she was essentially cut out of episode 9. And she was the major driving force of Trevorrow's movie. And it would have been, as a great actress, this would have been her moment. And that was taken away from her.
Yep. So, but yeah, I agree with the fact that I don't think that there was any way that that JJ could have made a universally accepted movie regardless. But The Rise of Skywalker was shit. It really was. Let me see. Infinite Wanderer says Warhammer 40K is working its way into mainstream media, but GW seems to share the ideas of Hollywood. Their last movie was already a dumpster fire. Yeah, I have heard Warhammer is making its way into mainstream. It's getting a lot of mainstream play. Again, I don't know anything about it, so I can't speak to it, but I have heard those concerns, you know, that it's making its way for sure. Let me see. Canceled Venom says, Jeremy or Cameron, who's prettier? P.S. Raylos.
Well, we're going to get the ladies. The ladies have to answer that. That's why you have to put me on one of the chats with the ladies. And
yeah, Cameron's going to win this chat. I can already tell you that.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Cool man 229 Jeremy, the Last of Us video is posted on the forum geeksandgamers.com okay, and that's Cool Man 229. So Cool Man 229, thank you, and thank you for the shout out in the video. I will be sure to check that out as soon as we wrap this up. Flow One Fiction says had to do one more super chat. I agree with Cameron. I've lived all over the world, and the U.S. is absolutely the least racist place I've been to. Thank you for confirming, and thank you. Sent a super chat on that the last time when me and Young Rippa were talking. Again, common sense would tell you it's the least racist place. I mean, it's not to say that racism doesn't exist. It just means that it's the least racist. You know, at least I say.
let me say
Go
this.
ahead.
People talk
Go
about
ahead.
systemic racism. I've seen systemic racism in Britain, where it's a class system. You cannot rise. If they do it to each other. If you don't have the right accent, you're not going to rise to this level. The aristocrats, it's a total class structure. I've seen systemic racism in France. I worked in France for Canal Plus. I developed the show there in Paris. And they were incredibly racist to their Arab minority. While thinking that they're the most liberal way, liberté, equality, fraternity, crap that they say, here in this country with all of its problems, you can make it. Yes, and I'm said on this chat, it is not an even land. As a brown guy, as a Muslim guy, as a conservative Muslim guy, I have been blocked and have been hassled and have had more obstacles in my career than I needed, and yet I still have a decent career. And there are people like Spike Lee who are risen to the top, the Oscars. He deserved it earlier, but he got it. With all the systemic racism that's in the world, the United States still has a meritocratic possibility. That's what's special about this place, and we're not seeing it.
Yep, you're right. Thank you, Darth Vader. Always happy that I'm Lord Vader's favorite YouTuber. That always makes me happy. Let me see. And then Catastrophe says, hey, Jeremy, have you been missing my crap jokes? Catastrophe was sending so many trolling super chats the other day during my stream with Ripa. It was hilarious. Emperor Billy Ritchie. Cameron, what's your take on Cyberfrog? Are you familiar with Cyberfrog from Ethan Van Sciver?
I've seen some images of it. He's an incredible artist. So for what I've seen of it, it looks like a beautifully visually drawn, comic. I can't speak to it because I haven't read it. But he's done an amazing job of taking all the hate that was thrown at him and monetizing it. He did a better job of it than you, and you've done an okay job.
Yep. I am a supporter of Cyberfrog and EVS. EVS is great. He's EVS is killing it. He's just killing it. So let's see. And then we have we're almost at the end here. So Toe. Here, hang on. Let me see if I can get back to it. Toe786 says, what do you think of the upcoming Dune film? And I've covered that a little bit on this channel. So what are your thoughts?
Well, look, I'm excited for it. I think Denis Villeneuve is one of the great filmmakers of our time, right? And I'm hopeful. It is a very hard book to adapt. I have it. I've read it. It's an incredible book. It's a very cerebral book if you've read it. It's a challenging book. You had the efforts to do it in the 80s that didn't quite work, and then you had the miniseries that I thought did quite effectively on sci-fi. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it. I'm hopeful for it. Look, and this is, again, me plugging my own culture and ethnicity. Dune is largely based on Islamic culture. The Mahdi, which, is an Islamic messiah figure, right? So it'd be interesting to see how they large and earlier adaptations ignored that. It'll be interesting to see how much of that mythology, which is very clear in the book, is in this movie. Will it go woke? I just want them to pull off the story. The story is hard enough to pull off in 2 hours. I don't know how much woke they're going to be able to go when they're trying to make sense of this grand mythology.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's gonna, get us to the end of the stream. Cameron, this has been fantastic. It's great talking to you, man. It's great getting the insight from you, the perspective you bring. It's easy for the people that are critical of me and the opinions I bring to dismiss me. But when someone like you, comes on and really echoes a lot of the things that I've said have been going on in the Hollywood industry for a while, it pretty much makes the argument undeniable. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy these movies. It doesn't mean that you can't go out support them as an individual. I am a strong supporter of you can go out and support whatever you want with your money. But there is a problem in the industry, and fans like us are finally, getting fed up with the politics being pushed into, the content. So really quick for anybody that's just tuning in, Cameron, again, where can they find you? Where can they support you? And what can they do to, continue to help you get your, your career out there and whatever you want to say? Floor is yours, my friend.
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter. I believe it's at Cameron Pasha. I'm going to check. Do I have anything on it? I think it's just at Cameron Pasha. I don't even know my own Twitter handle, right? But you should be able to find me. If not, just look at who Jeremy follows and you'll find me. And you can also, my website, which is just my name, www.cameronpasha.com. And, I don't update that site a lot. I've got some old blogs on there, but you can purchase my novels. I have 2 novels, one that I mentioned here, which is on the Crusades, The Shadow of the Swords. I have another novel, another historical epic novel on the birth of Islam from the point of view of the Prophet's wife. And here's another example here. I'm a guy telling an entire novel from the point of view of a woman. And the greatest compliment I've ever received on that book is a woman wrote me a fan letter and said, I had no idea that a man had written this novel until I got to the end of the book and I saw your picture at the back blurb. I thought a woman had written it because it felt like an authentic woman's point of view. And to me, that's an incredible thing to say, and I hope others will agree with that. You can purchase my novel through my website, and I would love to be back on here, Jeremy. I enjoy you personally, and I very much enjoy the people in the chat. I mean, there's some really wonderful people in this community, and I hope to continue to be a part of it.
Appreciate that, man. I really do. It's a pleasure to have you on, and this will not be the last time we have you on. We have Keller Rand says,
man, I'm tired of you. I don't want this pasty white dude no more. I want some girls on here.
I will make it happen next time. On a lighter note, two guys walk into a bar. If you are behind them, duck. There you go. And Catastrophe says The Last Jedi is better than Return of the Jedi. Catastrophe's just
God bless you.
shit.
I don't agree with that. Move on.
And Matt Deckard says, tell Cameron I said hi.
Hey, Matt Deckard. I just want to say, Matt Deckard, I met him because of Ethan Rand, his driver, because I was wearing a Solo shirt on the day that Solo premiered.
Yeah, I remember this guy.
And I went to the Grove bookstore, the Barnes & Nobles, and I was wearing it. And he came up to me, he's like, hey, man. We became friends from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, Catastrophe says, sorry I couldn't spam your chat more. YouTube decided notifications don't actually notify me of your live streams. Yeah, like the other day, Ryan Kennel went live on Sports Wars. I never knew he went live because my notifications, it just did not give me he only had like 45 people. It got ghosted. It just got completely ghosted. Yeah, it happens so much.
I just got a message here from someone who said, hey, I think Twitter unfollowed me from you. It happens,
Mm-hmm. It's actually. But anyway, guys, I'll see you over on geeksandgamers.com. Go join us in the forums. Make yourself a profile. Sign up for that premium membership. That is the future of Geeks and Gamers. If you love Geeks and Gamers, if you want to see this brand succeed, the best thing you can do, $10 a month, support the website, support what we're doing. It allows me to not have to be so, I don't have to be in debt to YouTube and their ways all the time. And if we can sustain that website, it will allow me to elevate this thing to another place. And I appreciate the support. I'll see you guys over there. Cameron, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a fantastic stream. You guys have a great day. Go join Drunk 3PO. He's live right now. He's probably got the ladies. Let's do a stream snipe right now of Drunk 3PO. Let's see real quick before we end this. Let me see who he's got on there. Because I just got a notification that he's live. Of course, it's being ghosted though, because it's not showing me that he's live. Are you kidding me, YouTube? Really? They don't even show me that he's live.
Drunk 3PO's blocked you.
He's already got me blocked. All right, let's see. All right, yeah, so you want to see the ladies? Look,
yeah,
here we go.
Yeah, I want to see what's going on.
Here we go. Boom, right there.
Why?
Look at this.
Because it's the obvious. All that matters.
He's got all the ladies.
I see how.
5 beautiful women.
Yeah,
I got you right.
Good luck, buddy. I hope.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be a good one.
You guys spam him right now. Tell him we're stream sniping him right now.
Disgracing the Raiders posted behind you. Well, I have more than one.
Yeah,
I know Drunk 3PO's game. I get this, the fatherly love. I get his game.
Jeremy, stop stream sniping us. What? As I'm fixing my hair, making it.
Jeremy, who?
Jeremy. What are you doing? Gamers. Hold on, I'm
okay. Screen sniping us.
We're making fun of you and all the beautiful women you got around you.
My onesie.
Look, Drunk's gonna take center stage as he always does.
Nobody wants to see you, buddy. Bring the girls back.
Are we really doing that?
Yes.
All right, so you guys go join Drunk 3PO. But for everybody, thank you again, Cameron. You guys have a great night, and I appreciate it. Support Cameron. Go follow him on Twitter. Buy his book, and I'll see you in the forums on geeksgamers.com. Have a great night. Bye. And